Hello and welcome to the Friday Night Social. Yes, we're back on Friday night because it's been a big week, hasn't it, lads? Been a big week.
Really? No, it's been completely quiet. Nothing
Anything
happened.
worth talking about? I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah.
it is Friday, the 19th of June, 2026. Well done for making it this far. In the chat, we've got Tommy, we've got Sue the Beard, we've got Spooky Thang, we've got Harry Flash, we've got Steve's as well. We've got Indie Duck Mel. And if you'd like to join our friends in the friendly chat, just hit the subscribe button and wait for a minute or so, and you'll be able to join in. I think there's some people still watching AIDS Lock-In on his channel, and I think there's probably some people still watching Maximilian. So maybe at half past we'll get some more people coming in. But what would you like to talk about first, Ed?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, since nothing happened, clearly we need to talk about Donald Trump's pool, don't we?
Yes, his swimming pool.
Yeah.
That it went green. He painted it blue. It went green.
Then it started peeling or something?
Yeah, no, they put hydrogen peroxide into it to kill all the algae, and it peeled the paint off.
I shared a link earlier. There's this great YouTube channel of a guy that basically just does videos about swimming pool maintenance, and he's had a few thousand followers for years by the looks of it. And then he started talking about entirely why the reflection pool was a stupid idea and it wouldn't work. And he's got millions of views all of a sudden for his swimming pool YouTube channel.
Oh my God.
It's one of those things like when you live in a content niche and then suddenly that niche becomes the most relevant thing.
Yeah. I was trying to work out what mine would be. How would my YouTube channel escalate? And it would have to be Donald Trump doing something embarrassing with SketchUp and a rendering engine. So I'm not holding out much hope.
I suppose it would depend on him having the ability to operate a computer without help, wouldn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what it's like? It's like when when you try and do some DIY and you fuck it up, and then you've got to get the professionals in, and the guys looking around your house going, "Ooh, you've had the cowboys in here," and you're like, "Shut up, don't say anything." It's a bit like that. It's a bit like, yeah, don't say it was me. Don't tell him it was me. But yeah, that's not all Trump's been up to this week. He hasn't just been paddling in his shitty green pool. He's also been,
peace in our time. Peace in our time.
Signed in Versailles of all places.
Yeah, it's excellent. Nothing's ever gone wrong with a peace treaty signed in Versailles.
Nothing. No. Absolutely not. There was no redux. I mean, look, it would be absolutely fitting the historical trend if this peace deal that has been signed was to last indefinitely with no future ramifications whatsoever. I'm sure it's fine.
When you say indefinitely, you mean until lunchtime tomorrow, yeah?
I mean, I am sure that we won't see this all blow up again in 1 or 2 years.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
You know the Treaty of Versailles, the original. You know it was never ratified by Congress.
Oh, Americans don't ratify treaties. They're a big fan of creating treaties and then pulling out of them. I mean, I can't think how many different conventions the UN has got that the US has never signed on to. I think they've got various things around the control of chemical weapons and things like that, which they've just never signed.
Yeah.
They expect the rest of the
human
world
rights. Aren't they one of the people that hasn't signed up to the Convention on Human Rights?
I'm not sure it's possible. It's possible. I can't imagine Guantanamo Bay is particularly in keeping.
They did sign up to that. They did sign up to the UN declaration, but there's no oversight, is there? There's no one who there's no one to take you to jail if you don't, unless you're a signatory.
Well, America, the USA used to be the policeman for these things, didn't it? So it's
yeah.
But unless you can drag them to The Hague, but they're not a signatory to the International Criminal Court, so
no,
they're no longer a member of the World Health Organization either. So that's really helping with the COVID situation, as you can imagine.
I mean, if there's going to be a global pandemic, it would be fantastic if it would hold off for at least the next 3 years. Can we arrange that, or is that something
it's too late? It's already happening.
Wouldn't it be awesome if there was a pandemic brewing in the reflection pool right now?
I mean, given how it looks.
Yeah.
given how it looks, and that there's also any number of Donald Trump's inner circle who are just in a dire state of health of one sort or another. What was this? What is this I keep seeing about Robert F. Kennedy and brainworms? What is it I keep seeing about that?
He had a brain worm.
The worm
That's
in his brain.
all you need to know. Yeah.
I just can't fathom.
Fun though. Fun though. Yeah, so he had a brain worm, which was bad. So he had to I don't know what he did with it. He
Imagine being the second most intelligent creature living inside your own skull.
There's also a story about a dead bear that he threw into Central Park, and then there was another one about, I don't know, a dolphin penis or something. Like the mad shit that guy's done. He is absolutely off his bonds.
And did you see the video of him catching snakes at the swimming pool?
I did.
And they're all biting him, and his wife's going, "What the fuck are you doing?" And he's going, "They're just snapping a bit." Basically, man's a madman.
God, is he? I mean, he sounds dead as well. He sounds like a reanimated corpse.
Yeah.
They're not like, does that not ring any alarm bells in people's heads? Is no one like, oh, maybe we shouldn't have this guy in charge? You know, maybe.
The grifter lifestyle is clearly very demanding on the people that take part in it. I mean, there's a lot of people who sort of seem like the reanimated dead who take, who are pushing that kind of extremely right-wing rhetoric, even if reality is clearly screaming at them in the face.
Yeah,
it's obviously just money that keeps them alive. That's the.
So obviously we had the election last night. Did you stay up and watch it?
What election? What election?
Aberdeen.
Aberdeen.
South.
Aberdeen. Oh, yeah. I was wondering. I heard so much fuss, and I had no idea what that was about.
I stayed up all night waiting for that result. I'm really pleased for Kemi. I think the Tories are turning things around from the north downwards.
I mean, they're saying that the SNP have peaked. I think something like that.
Yeah.
So the refuckers now, they've lost in Caerphilly. They've lost in Gorton and Denton. They've lost. Hello, Scott. How you doing, mate?
Scott.
Oh, he's having a Magnum. Hello. They've lost in now Makerfield. And how are we feeling about the chances winning the Metro Mayoralty in Manchester? Because I don't think they stand a chance myself, but you know.
So reform.
Yeah, refuck.
I think it always depends a lot on who is stood as candidates. I think Andy would have been mad if he stood to be MP without having some contingency plan in place for this, which makes me fairly convinced he's going to have one, and that there will be someone very good coming forwards for it. And I saw comments from other people earlier today saying, will he be spending time campaigning in Manchester? I'm sure he will. It would be slightly strange if he didn't. But I think, to be honest,
he's actually not going to be very busy, less busy than he is as the mayor, because the leadership, there is no leadership election still at the moment, and there won't be, and that won't be resolved until October anyway, will it? Until end of September, October.
It depends on what the party chooses to do. I mean, it's possible. I think that there is a world in which there isn't really a contested election for the leadership. There is a world in which people do the obvious mathematics. That's very impressive, Scott, by the way. There is a world in which people do the obvious mathematics and decide for themselves maybe they're not going to torch themselves by fighting a contest they're not going to win. I mean, I think I was talking about it with a friend over breakfast earlier today, and it's like, is the Labour leadership contest looks like this. It's a simple yes/no question. Is Andy Burnham standing? If yes, then you probably aren't going to win it. That's the state of play. That's true for Starmer. That's true for Rayner. That's true for Streeting.
I mean, it may have improved, maybe, because of a certain Your Party, but I need to remind you, the Labour Party is not normally very good at this. The last time we crowned a leader, it was Gordon Brown. That didn't work out well for everybody, including Gordon. And doing the right thing inside the Labour Party, I'm sure we can refer back to Magic Grandad and ask how that went, basically, because there were at least two opportunities to do the right thing and replace the leader, and that didn't happen. So I don't know. I still think that there might be some. There's always a left candidate within a Labour Party. We don't do this. The Labour
Mm.
Party don't do this. You don't replace prime ministers,
I
right?
think that's,
Gordon and Tony was the last time,
yeah.
and that was genuinely because of an agreement and because
Mm.
Blair could go and make millions of pounds while he still had a reputation.
I think the optics, though, are quite different. Like, I mean, in a sense, that is the difference. The fact that Tony was stepping aside to move on to bigger and more lucrative things, and Gordon Brown was being left holding the bag. That was how it looked to the public, and it wasn't far enough from the truth not to stick. I think in this case, it's clearly quite different in the sense that, you know, in an ideal world, from Starmer's point of view, he wouldn't be getting challenged, and yet he is. And I think that there's a general sentiment that there is a wall, there is writing, and it is time to start reading said writing on the wall, rather than sort of trying to defy the laws of political gravity. And I think in politics, there are two basic skills you have to have. There are two skills you basically got to have in politics. You've got to understand people, and you've got to understand basic numeracy. And basic numeracy says Andy Burnham's approval rating is up here, and Starmer's is not. And there comes a point where that gulf is so insuperable. Right. And also Andy's lead versus any other potential Labour Prime Minister is so commanding. There would have to be a damn good reason not that he wouldn't win. And so it's really just a question of how many extra steps the party feels like going through before coming to the conclusion the rest of the country arrived at 6 months.
I think it's also down to, I mean, at the moment, it's still in Keir Starmer's hands, isn't it, to a great extent, basically. And I think, you know, it's going to depend on the first conversations on Monday in Westminster between him and Burnham, if they happen at all.
I would imagine there's negotiations going on.
Yeah, have
all
been
the
for
time.
a while.
It probably have been for a bit. I mean, it's been.
I still stick with it. I can hold a number of opinions on the same subject until we get a result, basically. But I still stick with the idea that Starmer would make a great foreign secretary.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. And I think if in a sensible world, that's the sort of outcome that we might hope for. But, you know, Labour leadership contests are never a nice thing. There's nothing more damaging for a party than a contested selection. And I think it would be very smart. For example, like Wes Streeting, you know, what like him or loathe him, I think
I loathe him.
I like him or loathe him, Graham. Like him or loathe him.
How do you feel about Wes Streeting, Graham? Just out of interest.
Yeah. What do you
do you know what? If I could just reach through my camera, I would so draw a knob on Scott's face with a marker pen.
What's Scott done to do? What's he done to deserve that?
I don't know. He's just put his head in the front of the camera. I'll just be reaching.
It is a bit like Ed talking some very serious politics, and Scott appears silently eating an ice cream, staring at it as if it's an OnlyFans site.
I mean, look.
That's what the comments are saying, which is absolutely hysterical. And I was just reading them. I was like, Scott's practicing his OF shtick.
Before we come on to Wes Street, shut up, Wesley. Sarah Davis dropped a super chat in like ages ago. So thank you so much, Sarah. That is very kind of you. She says, "Hi, Graham, Mike, and Ed." Oh, that's really nice. That was
apparently, I have a blue light on. That is true. But also, I wasn't putting Bonnie Blue to shame. I feel like it's a, you know, it's a bit much on the teeth when it's that cold, right? And usually dicks aren't that cold. And then it depends whose it is. But then if they're alive. But the only way to eat a magnum. The only way to eat a magnum.
Can we leave my family out of this?
The only way to eat a magnum is exactly as described by Hidden Night. The Hidden Night.
You gotta bite off all of the.
You bite the chocolate off, and then you eat the gooey, lovely vanilla ice cream goodness.
Because if you try and bite in it, you always get bits all down your top, and
I just had that.
That chocolate melts the second it touches fabric. It just
it does. It melts into the fabric.
It doesn't give you a second.
You look like you've got.
Doesn't give you a moment.
All over your face.
Exactly.
This is just giving me such I eat all the legs and arms off the gingerbread man kind of energy. Like,
yes.
Do you do that? I do that.
I do that.
I mean, I'm just saying it's like it was fun until people started pointing it out, and then it got really disturbing.
I eat all of the chocolate off a Kit Kat, and I'm left with the wafer, and then I go.
I do that with Ferrero Rocher. I do that
Club
with
biscuits.
Ferrero Rocher, and I
Yes.
get to the
Get
get
to
to
the
the
little
wafer bit,
the
and then I
little-
open it up, and then
Yeah.
lick out the chocolate
Have you-
and the nut.
Yeah.
Has anyone like? Do
the
you
only
eat
way
the
to-
chocolate off a club biscuit? Have you done that as well?
A cod biscuit. What's that? Is that like a
Club
sex thing?
biscuit.
Oh, sorry, club. I think you said a cod biscuit.
Yeah.
I was
I
like,
think it's a cock biscuit. I was like, I don't even know what that is. And
Some
I'm
of
a
us-
homosexual.
What he wants to
Some of
hear.
I'm
us-
just going to swerve
Edit-
back. I've got a question then. So it's like, you know how they always put a flake in an ice cream? Like they always do. Are you really seriously meant to just eat the flake individually, or are you supposed to in some way combine eating the flake and the ice cream at the same
You
time?
take
Is that
the
a-
flake, you
Push
take
the flake.
push the flake in,
yeah,
and then you
Into the
take
cone.
it out with the ice cream on top of it,
right.
and then it's all frozen and shit with the ice cream.
But
on.
I never
Oh,
had
so
that
good.
experience with it. It's always
You know-
it's always a messy, melty, gooey mess by the time it gets to that stage.
You know, we were talking
Yeah.
about swimming pool guy having his moment of fame earlier.
Yes.
This section of this podcast is that this is when there is a scandal about ice cream and flakes,
Yeah.
it's going to
Well,
go
I'll get
through the
brought up.
roof.
But yeah, obviously, in regards to politics, you know, the whole Andy Burnham win, blah blah blah, and yeah, the stuff and the thing with the politics and the Andy Burnham.
The what?
Oh well, I'm glad we got serious again there.
I'm really appreciating how specific you just were. Yes,
Right.
Yeah,
Tell us about the
exactly.
stuffing in the thing.
I know exactly
you know
what you're
I'll be
talking
honest
about.
with you, because I have been so out of the loop, guys. I didn't really know what was going on last night. I saw live coverage of an election. I'm like, oh, I wonder who's getting voted in. And I was honestly thinking, oh, I'm just gonna wake up with another fucking reform person this morning. Great, can't wait. And I was pleasantly surprised to find out this was the whole Andy Burnham thing. And yeah, I think, you know what, like, we should just not really talk about it anymore. Just put him in as prime minister already. Like,
Flake news. Ernie Burns. This is flake news.
Very good. Very good.
Genius. Genius.
fake news. Yeah, this is why we read the chat, because it's full of smart,
They're
intelligent,
People who are
incredible.
funnier
funny
than
people.
us.
Funny shit.
Much funnier than us. Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Exactly.
Making us laugh. Anyway, talking about making us laugh, where's Streeting? Looks like the autopilot from Airplane. Tell us more about this shiny-faced fucker. I mean person. I mean former health secretary.
Okay, so I think my read on that one would be Wes is already as high profile in politics as he probably is going to get for the near term. He's not going to win a leadership challenge, and if you're going to fight
Does Wes know this?
challenge,
Does Wes know this?
I'm just going to read through the mathematics without trying to guess at Wes's position on it. My read on it is very simply, if you're going to go into a leadership challenge, you've got to be getting one of two things out of it. You've either got to be raising your profile or you've got to be winning the damn thing.
Yeah.
And I don't see how Wes gets either of those from this contest. And I don't really see how most of the other would-be participants would actually gain either of those things either. I don't think Keir Starmer is going to suddenly pull a rabbit out of the hat now at this sort of late stage. It's sort of like what I said about Robert Kenyon and the reform campaign yesterday. If they had a rabbit, the time to pull it out of the hat was quite some time ago.
If during a press conference about the leadership election, Keir Starmer did actually pull a rabbit out of a hat from under the lectern, I think that could turn things around for him.
I think the problem is that once you've reached a certain point with the public, if they've made their mind up about you, you can perform any magic trick you want, and they're going to say, yeah, but nah, we don't believe it. It's sort of, it's kind of like that thing with AI. We get so overexposed to AI at this point that we'll look at things that are completely believable and real, and we'll doubt them. I think that's sort of the place that we're at the moment.
I don't think Wes Streeting doesn't have a chance in hell in ever becoming prime minister. And it's just for one thing alone. This country is not ready for a homosexual prime minister. Absolutely not.
I mean, Ted Heath was the prime minister in the 1970s.
Yeah.
Was he a homosexual?
Yeah.
Raging.
Yeah.
Raging.
I think
knew this country was going to the dogs.
He didn't tell anybody. He didn't tell anybody.
He was in the closet.
All right.
Like liberal.
Let me rephrase. There's no way that this country will have an out.
We've had
loud and proud homosexual
female PMs. We've had Rishi Sunak, who was Hindu. You know, we got Sadiq Khan in London, who's Muslim, and he's been elected 3 times, like Dick fucking Whittington. I mean,
I don't
I
think
don't see it.
I think
I-
if so, I think the problem with Wes
I don't
cheating
think
is,
it's the
is
point
he-
with
he's a
Wes.
knobhead.
I don't think Wes is actually playing a serious game as a leadership runner in this. I think he's preparing the way. He's a lot younger than Burnham and Starmer. We know he's got an ambition to become the prime minister, but I don't think that's the game he's playing this time.
Maybe
Because
in
I
20
go,
years' time.
yeah, I go back to the complications within the Labour Party of changing a sitting prime minister, changing the leader of the party when they're the prime minister.
know
It's
what,
not
though?
something. It's not something we do in the Labour Party. There isn't a mechanism for it particularly. It's not like we have a 1922 committee within
Boris
Parliament
Johnson
that can
dabbled at
force
Eton,
this.
apparently. Sorry, go on.
We're back to that. But I think Wes is playing a longer game on this, and I think if you look at his announcements and the way he's doing things and the timing of everything, I think it is all connected to a Burnham leadership run. I think he's going to sit back now and either take back the health service or one of the major posts in Burnham's cabinet.
I think if Burnham has any sense, then I would imagine he's going to be looking for a sort of unifying kind of cabinet. I think one of the big criticisms leveled against Starmer, one of the fairer ones, has been that you've ended up with a kind of ideological monoculture in the cabinet.
Yeah.
And I think it's been far too much of one group within the party and not enough of everybody else. And I think that's always a mistake. You want people in the room who don't agree with you about everything, because they're the ones who will check the bad ideas before they get anywhere near the public.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
that's really important to have.
We've got a great little message here from Dave Martin, who says, with how much of a knob he is aside, he looks like a ventriloquist dummy. His face alone makes me irrationally angry. I know exactly how you feel. Let's talk about Wes.
I need to.
I was wondering which one he was talking about there. I was like, he could be talking about Keir Starmer.
He looks
could
very
be talking about
waxy. There's something uncanny valley about his face.
This is my major theory about Wes Streeting, that you should not trust a man that definitely doesn't need to shave. It's not that he doesn't look like he doesn't need to shave. He just doesn't need to shave.
I'm not going to shame him for his facial hair.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think we should get too lost in sort of like the appearance politics. I think this is one of the things that I'm always a little wary of. Is that
you're just worried? You're just worried about your seat, Ed.
I'm just worried that people are going to like my hair
because you want it on your looks. You're not worried.
Clearly, like once I start losing my hair, I'm done for. Yeah, but no, I think there is a thing that we have allowed politics to become very personalized, and it's also become quite shallow. A lot of appearance politics does seem to matter, and I don't think that's very healthy. I don't think the problem for Wes, by the by, is to do with him being gay whatsoever. I think the problem the public will have with him, it's a very simple thing. It's just that story about Mandelson, which the right-wing press will absolutely want to reheat, and they will want to say, oh, look, he's not actually, he's no different, he's just the same. And that'll be the end of the story as far as most of the public is concerned right now. It's unfair, but that's how it is.
I don't think it'll be obvious. I'm not saying that anyone, no one's going to stand, not one person is going to stand up and say, we can't have a gay prime minister. No politician is going to say that.
What about Sarah Putin from Reform? I think.
Listen. Listen. We can talk about her later. She is a mess. And that woman she's so fucking stupid. She doesn't know how stupid she is. Like,
did you see her fight that she had last night?
Oh,
I turned it off. I turned it off because I was sick of seeing her stupid face. Right, so we were watching Sky News that she was on. I was like, oh fuck this. So we were watching like the BBC. We had another feed up as well, and like we were flicking between the three of them, that and LBC, right? And I missed that whole thing. It wasn't until I saw the clips today where.
The woman came for her really hard, which was great.
What's her name? The Labour Labour minister.
No, she wasn't. She lost her seat, didn't she, at the last election?
Thadania Debonair, I think her name is. I forgot her name.
She lost it. She lost her seat to a Green, didn't she? In Bath or Bristol.
She lost to Carla Denyer, I think.
In Bristol.
Yeah. Is she a Lord then or something now? Is she in the House of Lords?
I think so.
Or?
Yeah.
Everything she said was right.
I've got some. I've got some info. I've got some inside info of who might Labour put up for mayor in London. Sorry, in Manchester.
In London?
Have you got any of this, Ed, from inside Labour?
If I had, I
Excuse
wouldn't
me.
be at liberty to disclose it. You know
Okay,
that.
is it
Graham.
going to be Bev Craig?
That's a familiar name. I mean,
Okay,
she's a
right.
big beast within the party,
I
but
was watching your response there.
I mean, to be honest, that's a case of I'm just sort of chewing over it. It's like that's a familiar name.
She's the
So
leader of Manchester City Council.
that
She
would
grew up on a
make
council estate in Belfast.
that
She's
could make
lesbian,
logical sense.
and she did politics and modern history at Manchester University, which is what I did.
Yeah.
The same course.
Well, it's good.
I've seen her
It's
in
good that
action.
some of
Keeping
your
you up,
alumni
Scott.
have
Are we
gone on
keeping
to
you up?
decent
Oh,
things.
fuck off. You know it's late for me, mate.
Wake
and I
up.
didn't sleep very well last night at all, okay?
Oh,
I'm
neither
going to
did
yawn
I.
a little bit.
Neither did I.
It's not the conversation. It's not,
Yeah.
because I wouldn't be here otherwise if I thought you were fucking boring, okay? Like,
Aw,
I'm
thank
not,
you.
I'm not, I honestly, I slept really shit last night.
Oh, I'm
Just-
sorry, mate.
Just
Is that
having a
because
little
of the
look.
election? You were really into
No,
it?
no, it was masturbating.
Oh, for
No, I'm
God's
joking.
sake, Scott.
I'm joking.
So you weren't
No,
exactly tossing
honestly,
and turning. You were more tossing and
I
tossing.
was just tossing. So, in all seriousness, no, I couldn't sleep properly. I just couldn't sleep properly. I don't know. what was
Oh, I'm sorry, man. Anyway,
That's all right, it's all right.
anyway.
Just
Anyway,
little bit of a
continuing
gander.
forward. Politics, not wanking. Let's go.
Sorry, Ed's looking up. He's talking to his sources.
Ed's like, I don't
Yeah.
His
understand.
sources.
This
Is it going to
just-
be?
talk.
I was only
Is it gonna
consulting
be Bev
Google
Craig?
just to get a quick overview because I have seen her in action before. I've heard her speak. I think possibly at LGA.
Yeah.
Bev, she is someone who is very sensible. Fairly well, sort of like she is an experienced person in local politics in Manchester. And I was just looking. She's got the portfolio for economy, business, and inclusive growth on the combined authority for Greater Manchester. If you were looking for someone to step up into a leadership role,
Yeah.
you probably want someone who understands the figures, and she would.
Yeah.
So she would make logical sense if that's someone they were putting up. That doesn't.
What
That
do we
doesn't
think the game
horrify
is in
me.
Manchester, though? I don't know what the statistics are like, what the voting trends have been like around there, basically.
No, I think the thing is this, and it's like we said at the run up to the by-election. I'm going to flash back. I'm going to take the Doctor Who TARDIS back to a conversation we had previously on this podcast.
How many? Right.
about
So how
Doctor
many? How many Doctor Who's were from Liverpool?
Oh, come on,
Oh, who
come on.
cares?
We already had that conversation, Mike.
Who did Marina Purkis play in Doctor Who season 5, episode 7? I can't remember. It's all getting confused now.
So the conversation I want to remind you of is when we were looking at Andy Burnham going forwards for Makerfield, and we were asking the question, will he win, will he not? I, of course, felt that he would, but I didn't want to jinx it by saying so too loudly. That sort of thing has a way of backfiring on politicians. But the thing that really jumped out at me was if Andy Burnham's pitch to the Labour Party and to the country is, I'm the guy who can beat reform, then he needed to prove that by winning a by-election. And Makerfield was a perfect test bed for that because it was an area where reform swept the local elections. They did really well there. Wigan was heavily turquoised over. So if there was any place that reform were going to do well, it was Wigan. And if there was any place that Andy Burnham could prove that he could beat reform, it would be in Wigan. There's also there's lots of reasons why it was a perfect test bed. So now the question is, can Andy enable someone else to win the Greater Manchester mayoralty? If he can't, then he's kind of disproven his own sort of his pitch, and then his vote to be MP was purely personal. But I don't think that's quite the case. I think people were voting for Andy more so because of what he represented rather than just who he is. I think us politicians get very starry-eyed about the idea that we personally are popular and we personally have a personal vote. Reality is that's not generally what's going on. What happens is
but
it
was,
contract.
but it absolutely was in the by-election.
It's part. It helps. It helps.
Look at this. The
but there's a
poster
social
campaign
contract.
was entirely vote Andy.
What
It's a
is-
picture of
but
Andy. It was
what
not a
is
Labour
Andy?
by-election.
What is Andy at the end of the day? Like, what is it about Andy that people like? It's that he's the Manchester man. He's a working class lad made good who rose to the role of being mayor of Manchester, and his policies basically revolve around the idea of taking power out of London. To a lot of people in the regions, I'm looking at all of you lovely London-based people, jokes. you know,
Based in
London.
I'm joking.
Huh?
I'm just
I am.
winding you. I'm just
What?
winding you up. I'm just winding you up
from-
each.
I'm from
It's-
East Sussex. I'm the
I-
working
if
You
class
lot
East
came.
Sussex.
If you lot came this far north,
West
you'll
Sussex.
need an oxygen tank. You'd suffocate.
If you came this far north, you'd need cotton socks on, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Here we go
absolutely.
again with the old North. Actually, I was watching something today that was talking about the danger of Andy's Manchesterism, and his sort of north-south, his opposition to southern politics, basically, which could be dangerously divisive to some extent.
I mean,
And I know, Graham, you've got strong opinions about the south not wanting somebody from the north. Basically, I don't think it's necessarily that, but
Oh,
Andy's
no, I don't think
has,
they do. Although,
Andy has lent into the north-south divide argument for years, and you know, it's going to be interesting how that plays out. Basically,
I don't think
nationally.
most Labour voters are going to mind. I think it would be more of a problem for someone like Angela Rayner.
I think, for what it's worth, if you look at it, we do have a kind of north-south divide, which has arisen out of wealth, out of inequality. And I think we do have to tackle that at some point. We are depending very heavily as a country on our capital. We are a very top-heavy economy. And we don't have enough devolution to the regions. We've deindustrialized.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's Andy's strength in particular. And I think it's, I mean, we did bring it up in the chat in this podcast some time ago, nearly 2 years ago at the general election. I thought one of the strongest things in the manifesto, and I think this is where Andy can really lean in to saying this was in the manifesto. And I know Femi and I disagreed about this last week, but I think it's reform of the House of Lords and devolution to create more powerful mayors, because Andy is a good example of. Personally, I think the way to beat reform is to have stronger arguments, a better social compact, basically, with people, and that's going to take time and good communications and good policies. But the other way to do it is devolution,
I think that's
proper
true.
English devolution, because that way you can create powerful mayordoms who can actually be opposed to the government, and that's one of the reasons why I think they've stalled on doing it. But Andy is demonstrating that you can create within the Labour movement, you can create a powerful political position that is in some cases opposed to government policy and takes its own line. And if you want to protect against reform, I think if you did end up with, and it's looking a bit less likely after yesterday, but if you ended up with a national reform government led by Farage, having powerful cities like Manchester, Newcastle, even down south, and having Cornwall with some independence, Cardiff with some independence, that's the way you mitigate against the.
Well, just to pick up on that thing about Farage, I was saying about they lost in Caerphilly, they lost in Gorton and Denton, they've lost here now in Makerfield, and that is with all of the money that they're being given by these shady foreign billionaires, being pumped into this by owning half the fucking press, having a channel. GB News is the
Reform UK
propaganda channel. They have a TV station that pumps out propaganda, and they still fucking lost.
Yeah,
and we still had Elon Musk and the power of Twitter
richest
on
man
side.
in the world, and all of
3,000 votes. Basically.
At the end of the day, money doesn't vote. Money doesn't vote at the end of the day, and you can pour all the money and the treasure in the world into a voting system. But people, if they are so minded and if they are class conscious, they can activate against that and they can beat it. And at the end of the day, that system of wealth depends on having a working class that actually does the jobs. If they choose not to, it's done. And
one of the things, because I know you were up there doing your bit as well, Ed, basically, and I've said this election after election, and often I'm, as somebody that's worked in social media and the internet for 20, 30 years, it's a strange argument to make, but it is about knocking on doors. And this election, more than any other, having seen the WhatsApp groups for CLPs that supported the campaign in Makerfield, looking at the fact that there were 1,200 activists on the street on the day before the election, knocking on doors, getting the vote out, and the day after as well, and during the election itself. That's actually, I think, what won it in the end. Because if you looked at national media coverage, although there was a movement towards it, even Kunzberg, when she announced it, I
wanna
was
say
watching
as
the
well-
coverage last night. She basically said, despite reform surging in the polls, Andy Burnham manages to pull off a victory.
That's
And you
spin.
kind of go, that's the coverage that a lot
Yeah.
of people have
Yeah.
been seeing.
Yeah.
But the people knocking on doors, talking about Andy knocking on doors, he set a criteria that they wanted to knock on every single door in the constituency.
I think there is the fact that it was Andy. I also think that it was the fact that Refuck put up a really shit candidate, which they also did in Gorton and Denton, a really shit candidate who was like, open to attack from all corners. And the right are fighting amongst themselves, which is wonderful to see. The Tories and the Refuckers and the Reformers and the Re-Twatters, whatever they're called, they all hate each other. They're all at each other's throats. There was footage of did you see the argument that they had in front of the Reform bus? Reform and Restore.
Oh yeah,
like they were arguing about, I don't know, flyers or something. Having a proper fucking Barney, and it's like, and someone pointed this out, and I mentioned this earlier on the show with Phil earlier this afternoon. That if you are trying to make everything stay the same, conservatism, dead easy. Everyone can agree on how you keep things the same, can't you? You just keep things the same. If you want to change things, then everyone's going to have their own idea of how it should be done and order that it should be done. And people have different priorities. And this is why the left fall out all the time. You got loads of parties on the left who all pretty much want the same thing, but it's just the priority of what, is the most important. The problem for the right now is that they are the parties of change, probably more so than the left. There's a lot of people on the left who are going, can we go back to the days when it was nice?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I think this sort of comes back to the point that we were having a minute ago, and we were discussing like North versus South and it potentially being divisive. I think in a sense, politics, effective democratic politics, is always about finding those division points in any kind of society and then finding the division that best suits the party that you're trying to support to get elected, and then trying to win that argument to make change. I think you don't make change without being a little divisive. And I think one of the problems that we have had on the left for a while is we've been playing a game of trying to sort of unify without really having a particular positive agenda that we want to put forwards to the public. We're not the Tories is not a change that the public was going to stick with for very long. I think one of the things that Andy does offer is he's offering some real meat and potatoes, rather solid policies, and he's talking about going further and faster. Whether that's possible, that remains to be seen. And it is always a risk when you are talking about doing that. We don't want Liz Truss 2.0. We don't want to spend beyond our means and crash the market. But on the other hand, we do need to be ambitious. Labour has a big 400 plus seat majority, and people, expect for them to actually govern accordingly, to show some courage, to show some backbone. And I think that is something which, again, we've got to just get better at on the left. We cannot allow the parties of the extreme right to be the ones making the change. We need to actually be saying, look, we've got ambitions too. Not everybody will like everything that we're proposing, but on the net, it will be better.
Well,
totally agree.
Ed,
Totally
Andy in the chat was just saying, is that you, Andy? Andy in the chat was just saying this can be a way of resetting the red lines against the EU, right? And I was thinking about this, like Burnham wouldn't. I don't think he'd be so stupid as to say, "I've got these red lines, and we're not going to cross these red lines." Do you know in the way that Starmer has been? Because he's a politician. He's been a politician now for 25 years. He's been an elected politician. Yeah.
So
he knows what he's doing, and he's not going to make a really first day mistake like that. Going, I'm going to put some red lines down. You don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. Can I just comment that one of the questions that I've been asked is like, what does Andy Burnham bring to the table that Keir Starmer doesn't? And my thoughts are, he's a politician and he wants the job.
Yeah. That
sounds glib, but it also is true when you stop and think about it. Keir Starmer is not a politician by nature. He's a lawyer. He's a very, very well-decorated and well-historied human rights lawyer, very principled guy, very good person, especially prior to entering in politics. I don't think anyone would have disagreed. He was a very good person who did very good things, made some good money in the process, I'm sure, but ultimately was doing really good human rights law. but not a politician. And a lot of the mistakes that have been made, a lot of the reasons that Starmer is now so unpopular. Yes, the media have been horrible to him. Yes, they have been dreadfully unfair. Yes, I think history will look back on him and feel he's been very hard done by.
To quote the great
But-
Graham Hughes, a Labour leader who was badly treated by the press. There's a
Yes.
surprise.
And that's the rub. Like other Labour leaders have been treated badly by the press and fared better because they were not tying themselves in knots for no reason. There is a reason why, if you ask a politician for a definitive policy position and they're not prepared, or they haven't given it thought, or they don't want to commit to something, they will either dodge the question or answer in a half answer. Watch me do it. You know, it's what you do because it's what you have to do. You don't want to tie yourself in knots, and you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're going to have to do a U-turn every 5 minutes.
Yeah. Sfax is saying this. A big chunk of what Burnham offered is what Labour is already doing, but he's at least talking about it. Better communication would already make a massithere difference, and it absolutely would.
I mean, that's the thing. It's not
in any relationship. In fact, when there was no such thing as no-fault divorce a few years ago, and you had to come up with a reason why you were splitting up, and you had to go before a judge and plead your case or whatever the fucking mad system was. And the things were like intolerable cruelty, there was having an affair, and one of them was breakdown of communication. And that was a legal reason why you could say to dissolve your marriage. And I look at Labour and I just think, what we're having here is a failure to communicate.
Yeah. I mean, I think to the point that was raised in the chat a minute ago, you know, is what Andy Burnham is bringing similar or the same as what the government is already pledged to do? Yeah. In a sense, yes, but that's it's not that we want a change of government. It's not a change of party.
Anything. And also, he can't do anything. Exactly. You have a change of government with a general election, and we don't want that at the moment. No. So I think, but if Burnham can find things in the manifesto that he can claim we have a mandate for and just lean into them, and things that I don't think Starmer fully believed in when he put them in the manifesto. I don't think he's done anything about them for the last 2 years, particularly about electoral reform. But then, you know, and I agree, there's a lot of things that they've done, which lays the foundation for, as Burnham said yesterday, you know, we're not going to get a third chance at this. So this is the one that's got to work. And there's a lot of stuff that's laid the foundation. One of the things I think Burnham did brilliantly in the by-election was not move towards reform in any way to try and win those votes over. He blatantly did win some voters, you know, I'd say the old red wall voters who swung Tory under Boris and Brexit and then reform after the Boris problems. He's swung those ones back to Labour, I think. You know, I'm guessing in those numbers, because he must have got those 9,000 votes from somewhere, basically.
I think there's something which we've got to remember on the left, which is something we're not very good at sometimes. But if we're thinking strategically, if we're understanding how to campaign, what is it that people in the centre and the right of politics actually respect? What is it they respect? It's not being right.
It's getting shit done.
It's getting shit done, I guess, is one way of looking at it. But I would say the other thing is strength. They respect strength. They respect conviction. They respect hard work. And
shaving properly. We respect that. I'm just going back to the West Streeting problem.
But there is that. But I think genuinely they respect strength. And what is not strong is capitulating to your opponent's line of reasoning in an argument. You know, if they're saying immigration, small boats, and you go, yeah, actually, we are a bit crap on the small boats. You're just giving them that ground for free.
But this is
no one's going to respect
this is
you.
the point of what I was saying about Andy's campaigning. We're not doing bad on that.
No.
They didn't really have an argument on that one, because when you look at the numbers, you go, actually, doing a lot better than the Tories did on the small boats, doing a lot better on net migration than the Tories ever did as well.
The guy who is responsible for all the hotels full of asylum seekers around the country, which the Labour is now closing down, the guy who is responsible for all of that is now a Reform UK MP.
Of course, yeah.
Listen, Jenny Robinson has just added to the chat. When I was just a little girl, I asked my mother, what will I be? Will I be pretty? Will I be rich? Here's what she said to me. Don't vote reform. Because Farage is a cunt A cunt.
Ah,
So thanks for that, Jenny.
whatever will be, will be.
See, we got into musical theatre and Scott woke up.
Future's not ours to see. Picture us.
Jane is saying refuck MP Danny Kruger is not a supporter of no fault divorce. Hey, there's another by-election coming up. Another one.
Really?
Yeah, in Tewkesbury there has been
okay.
Cameron Thomas has been yeeted from the Liberal Democrat Party, and this afternoon he was arrested on suspicion of assault and coercion. So he is going to be probably.
He's a very naughty boy.
He's either going to have to just quit or he'll be recalled. So yeah, there's going to be another. That might be an interesting one because that'll be one that the Lib Dems will want to keep hold of, and it'd be interesting to see what Labour do with that and whether they want to try and jump in there. What refuck are going to get it? Refuck are going to get involved, obviously. But can we talk about something else? Just did anyone see that clip from Jeremy Vine this week with him and Anne Widdecombe and Richard Bacon, where they were talking about whether the little crotch nugget of the king, the grandson, what's his name, George is it, the little one?
Yeah,
the little rich one.
Yeah.
Whether George should go to Eton or not.
Listen, I couldn't even believe that was a headline in the media in any way, shape, or form. Of course he's going to Eton. He's a fucking royal.
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Anyway, so they have these three people, all of whom are privately educated, would you believe it, discussing this on a morning show.
That's
right? And Jeremy Vine had the brass fucking neck to say that people discriminate against people who went to private school. And he went, look at us. And I'm looking at him going, yeah, you sit in a nice warm studio getting paid a fuckload of money. Yeah, God, my heart bleeds. My heart genuinely bleeds.
Because Scott started singing, his head getting a guitar out.
I think so. He's gonna get his double bass out.
He's getting his,
I needed a tiny violin, but it got bigger.
That's
it
it.
got bigger.
That is not a tiny violin.
No, it's not.
It is a tiny violin for a giant
violin.
If you move to the back of the room,
we can't hear anything. Ed, you've turned your mic.
Have I turned my mic? Oh, it's not going to play nice.
No. I can hear you.
I can hear you, but why
I can hear you.
Cello?
Okay, I don't know. Then I'm sorry.
Try again. It might be on.
Come on.
It might be on noise cancellation.
Is it noise cancellation on?
Yeah,
this?
it's Zoom.
It's a noise cancellation.
If you've got noise
talking.
cancellation on and it is removing the
that is
sound of that cello, that's
Then.
incredible.
I mean, it's very effective technology, but also really unhelpful.
There's a setting on Zoom for musicians, I think.
Yeah. Sorry, folks. This is me trying to do a musical gag and just messing up the whole stream.
Are we going to do it together?
Anne Widdecombe came up in the subtitles apparently as Anne Witty Cum.
The fact that woman is still relevant in any way, shape, or form. Relevant
is a very kind word.
The fact that she's on TV, the fact that researchers call her up.
And Robert Kennedy. I just got voices that you just can't listen to for more than 5 seconds.
I think I read a quote from her this week that said it's time for a fresh, new approach to politics coming from her.
Shut the fuck up.
There are some people I'm pretty convinced that the media only bring on because they are the heels of the program. They are there for the audience to not like.
That's exactly what that is. Literally exactly what that is.
Down with this sort of thing.
It's like, hi, Anne. Hello. Could you come onto the program today? We want to hear you talk. Yes. We think you're so fantastic.
No,
we think you're so brilliant.
No,
you did such a good job on the last one.
Shut this wobbly neck bitch up.
We're looking for somebody that has an opinion about ambidextrous people and homosexuality. Anne, would that be you?
Thought of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Coming from a woman who's never had sex before, she tell me anything about my sexuality. Fuck off. No one's ever fucked her. That's why she's upset.
Well, apparently she trained as a nun, didn't she? She was going to be a nun.
Of course she did.
And then she didn't.
Who was going to fuck her?
And then unfortunately she decided to go into politics.
And became no one fucked her.
Became a Brexiter.
I want to shake the hand.
Scott, stop pissing about with this subtle approach to what you think of Anne Widdecombe.
Yeah.
Tell us exactly what you think. Come on.
I want to
If we're
shake
gonna
the
get
hand.
defunded, mate, we may as well go all the way.
I want to shake the hand of the man who ever had sex with Anne Whitaker.
That didn't happen.
Well,
Apparently,
I'd want him
I
to.
want.
I'd want him
Actually, I
to.
will give.
I'd want him to wash his fucking
the
hands
admits
first,
it,
Scott.
20 pounds.
I think I'd insist on him washing his hands with Dettol
and
first.
Andy says she trained as a nun, and even Magic Jesus didn't want any.
No, but people voted for her for years and years and years.
Hey.
I don't want to sort of like be over personal about it. I think it's just a case that the opinions that she keeps coming out with
They're
are
terrible and
She's
old-fashioned.
awful.
She's awful.
But I think that's bad
She's a
enough
terrible
for me.
person.
I don't want to get into the personal stuff because I think, I'm mindful that we've had a by-election where we learned from the reaction of people on the doorsteps. People did not like how Rob Kenyon was coming across with the crass jokes he was making. And I think we've got to be mindful ourselves as well on that point, that we don't want to step into that turf in any way, to be fair. I'm sorry.
Scott,
son.
I hope you feel bad now. I really do.
Do you feel
I
bad?
don't feel bad.
Have you been
No, but
cancelled yet?
I hear
Cancel culture.
You've
been cancelled,
I hear
Scott.
what you're saying.
Yes.
You've
I
been
hear what you're
cancelled.
saying, and I agree
Go-
to an extent.
Scott, go make a TikTok quick saying I've been cancelled by the left.
Yeah.
I've been cancelled.
Just do it.
I've been
Yeah.
cancelled to say you can't go back to America anymore.
I've been trying to
You've been
cancel
cancelled.
lefties for the last few weeks for some reason because they have shit takes about sex workers and fucking
Oh gosh.
yeah. And people actually, I did that video about that Sarah Pochin thing, right? And people actually got confused and thought I was laughing at domestic violence.
Mind you, like
My
Sarah
audience
Poacher.
just don't understand.
So just to
Okay.
explain, Sarah Puchin put out a video this week where she was like, "Oh, the England team won last night, and that's a good thing because when England loses, the rates of domestic violence go through the roof. So keep on winning, England."
Keep on doing it, England. You
And
go.
everyone's
go
just looking at her
England.
going, "What the?" And she
Win-
left it up.
win
I
the
don't even
game.
think she's taking it
Win
down
the
now.
game, or the women get it.
No, she doubled down.
Yeah, it's like-
Phone Box Chicken says, "Imagine being stuck in a lift with Anne Widdecombe and Carol Malone." Well, yeah. I mean, if you don't
No,
want
you
to
know what
call
would be worse? Anne Whitakerm and
That's something
Sarah
to think about.
Pochin.
That would be tough.
That would
Yeah.
that would be some serious unaliving material.
Yeah,
Ah.
she's not Sarah Puchin's just a horrible person as well.
I'm
She
very
is-
disappointed.
Come on, get the cello. Hang on, Scott, we're losing the cello. Did you get it working?
I don't
Need to
think
plug it in. Did you plug in the cello?
Yeah. It doesn't have a cable attachment, so I
Oh.
couldn't switch it on.
Damn
Like,
it.
That's
it's
one of the old.
literally-
Is it one of the old ones?
You got
It's one of the old
one.
ones.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can't
yeah,
plug
yeah.
him in. I bet he hasn't got a touch screen or nothing.
No,
It's like an
got
old
no
Nokia
touchscreen.
Do you
3310.
play in a
This is
orchestra?
this is proper 17th, 18th century
Yeah,
kind of
right,
technology,
that
just
looks amazing.
updated very slightly with metal strings
Beautiful.
and whatnot. But yeah,
Do you
it's,
They're
play
not
in an
catgut.
orchestra?
sorry.
They're not
Do you play in
catgut.
an orchestra?
I used to play with the film orchestra locally, which is like an amateur orchestra. I could play orchestrally. I haven't particularly. There's just this dreadful politics thing that I'm sure once I lose the next election, I'll be free
Don't
to
say
do
that.
loads more.
Oh,
Like, well,
don't,
if
you
I
never
ever lose an election, I can
You have a
dedicate myself
backup
to my
plan.
true passion. So I'm
Yeah.
I'm okay either way. So I just go to carry on annoying reformies
That's that.
until
Can I just give you a bit of electoral campaigning advice? Please
Yeah.
don't put that on a leaflet.
I'm not putting that on a leaflet. That is strictly a joke. But nonetheless, if I ever find myself completely out of office, my cello and I will be keeping me busy.
Excellent.
Excellent.
That's what I
How are you
call
going to
it
make
too.
money? Anyway, so
That's it. I was just waiting for your fucking double entendre there, Scott.
Ed, can you play a note? Can you see if it's working? Did you turn off the noise
I
cancellation?
don't know whether it's worked or not. I can try. Hang on.
You
hang
got to do
on.
it on
It's
Zoom.
not. You would.
Oh,
have
there you
heard
go. We heard a little
I
bit.
I heard
Just
like
a little
one
bit.
note.
We heard one
Yeah.
1 second.
I
noise
have to
cancellation.
say, and we're going to get geeky now here. What have you got a separate microphone on the
Hang
desk, or is
on,
it your
hang on.
headphones?
Hang on. I wonder.
Is the microphone in your headset?
Is
I
it
am
in your head
massively
like in Black
impressed.
Mirror? Are we seeing
Okay.
through your eyes? Are you
Right.
looking in a mirror and missed your? Hey, excellent.
Okay.
Ah.
So now I can
Oh,
do
go on.
that.
No, actually play something.
Jaws, do Jaws.
That's for the gag that we missed half an hour
Oh,
ago.
it was like a sad
Okay,
trombone. I like that.
Yeah.
I'm the
Play us,
smallest.
Ed, play us something nice. That sounds lovely.
Oh, grief! You actually want actual cello music, do you? Now?
Yeah.
Yes, do it for a second at least.
Okay,
yeah.
so we've been hijacked by Doctor Who, and
Yes.
then by ice cream, and now
Doctor
by...
Who, ice cream, cello.
I think we're getting a full concerto here.
Oh, I've lost my place in the music.
Whoa,
Very good.
I am not great
Bloody
with memorizing
marvellous.
music, so I should have had my score there, but I thought I was doing a bit, and then I was doing a whole
You
piece of
sounded
music.
fucking amazing. That was brilliant.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
That was fantastic.
If people
Yeah,
get in the
man.
super
It
chat,
sounded like there was
maybe I'll
more than one
finish it.
instrument. It sounded like there was more than one
Yeah, it
instrument.
sounded like you were playing two cellos at once.
Yeah. How'd you do that?
I don't know. I think maybe it's just... I don't know.
Echo.
Maybe... I hope I've not
Echo.
glitched out the sound or something.
That was brilliant. You get lots of rounds of applause in the chat.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was fucking awesome.
That was very
Maybe
good.
I'm glad we
It's
found
cool
that.
to know
But
that he could play the things that have been sitting in the back while he's been chatting
I would-
politics the whole time.
I would
Yeah.
switch back your noise
can
cancelling
play-
because we can.
Oh,
hear
yeah,
your-
you're probably getting all sorts of background noise,
If
sorry.
you want.
That's better.
Yeah, you got... Sorry, you got
Beautiful.
the-
Ed, that was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah,
Thank
it was
you.
really, that was really, really cool, man.
That was
all-
very,
really
very
cool.
good.
And Scott, do you see how even though you've managed to lower the tone of this podcast dramatically, that Ed, a little simple bit of cello playing
Brings
has
it
just
back.
brought the average of the event back.
Well, you
up
don't want
to-
me playing with my cello on here.
Oh, here we go.
Hey!
There we go. He brought it right back to where we started.
Yeah, MC Kerr saying you're not going to get a copyright strike. No, I think the
I think
composer-
Barker's a little bit too
Bark-
dead to do copyright strikes.
Yeah.
That bum note at the
Well,
end, that wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, joking.
So
I couldn't even play one note. I don't know why I'm
Yeah.
even trying to
It's-
even think about
It's
it.
the wonderful thing about Baroque music is it is well past its copyright sort of expiration.
Yeah, that's true.
That's
Actually.
beautiful.
Fantastic. Brings it back.
Yeah.
Bringing it back.
Absolutely brilliant. Really, really cool.
Ah, anyway, where were we?
Who cares?
Well, I don't-
Play some
I don't think any of
cello.
I don't think any of us know how to follow that.
That was great. That
There's
little
nothing we can
musical
do to follow it.
interlude.
Yeah.
That was like that. This is like a David Lean film now, isn't it? We had like a halftime musical interlude where
Hey,
everyone
look,
went,
every political podcast should have some music in it. I'm just saying.
Yeah. This
Yeah.
is a
You
great
could do
new
like an
format.
intro for a political
Stu,
sort of podcast.
yeah, Stu
Yeah.
the Bearded said no less than I'd expect from a man with such lovely hair.
Oh,
Yes.
Again.
You
We're-
have
we're
very
back to
long
the-
hair, don't you?
I do. Yes.
Ah, I used
Yeah.
to have long hair.
Guys,
Oh.
I swear to God, I did.
can I just bring up the subject that Ed brought up? So can we not make this about looks and talent? That's not,
Yes, you're absolutely
way
right,
we-
Mike. I did bring that up.
not the way
earlier.
we should be doing politics.
Don't worry, he only brought the talent.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I think I feel a lot better now about roasting other people. Please roast me first, then I'll feel better about it.
Okay.
Yeah, you're
All right.
ugly, but you play the
I'm
cello
joking.
really nice.
There
I'm
we go.
joking.
That's
I'm
what I'm looking for.
joking.
That's the kind
I'd
of
do it
energy
if
I'm
I
looking
was
for.
Okay, so normal service has commenced, as Sarah.
Whatever
Yeah,
normal
indeed.
is.
Yeah.
Whatever normal is.
So
What's that line from
Do
the
you want to
Hitchhiker's
talk
Guide?
about the Sarah Poacher thing? Because that is actually
Yes.
a really important conversation in regards to the fact that not only did what she said was so misguided, you know, there were actual people. When I did a little TikTok about it last night, I got quite a few comments, and people were like, can you tell me what she said that wasn't correct? Well, what she said was correct, but she ended it wrong. Like,
it should have been like, this is a bad thing, but she didn't. She was like, hey, did you hear that children die when they get bombs dropped on them? So please don't drop bombs. Hey, I was just like, the fuck?
I don't know. I think it's more, it's just the emphasis of the whole thing was wrong. She managed to talk about domestic abuse without once mentioning the people who are actually responsible for doing it.
Exactly.
And without name dropping the fact that it is predominantly white men that are actually the ones responsible for doing it. British-born men.
Politically, she had a real problem by associating domestic violence with football.
The problem that reform has
both of whom are on a Venn. They're massively on a Venn diagram of reform voters, basically. So
she would be attacking a lot of her own supporters. Now, let's be very clear: it's not all reform supporters that are involved in all of this, but there is a disproportionate number. And certainly, once you get to the fringe right, once you get to people who are, way off the sort of the piste, you're then looking at people like what was the percentage again of the number of people arrested during the Farage riots last year who turned out to also have a prior domestic abuse conviction? Like loads of them. And
crazy.
We know how under-prosecuted domestic abuse actually is. So the actual number of perpetrators in that crowd must have been pretty massive.
Yeah. And it's a really bad look. And it's like, I don't think there's enough horrible people in this country to let refuck become the government. I really don't. And I know you think that about all countries, and you wouldn't think that Trump would ever get elected in America, but he did. But I think our attitude's a bit different. And we were talking just before about how Reform and also Restore have got all this money coming in from these toxic billionaires, think tanks, 55 Tufton Street and everything. And yet they still can't win these by-elections when they throw the kitchen sink at it. So that gives me a little bit of a spring in my step. Also, we had, who was it? We had Elle. Elle has suggested that Ed plays the Jaws theme while Scott creeps up on a lollipop.
That is an underrated suggestion.
It is not an OnlyFans site. We have to stress.
I don't have an OnlyFans. And the only reason I don't is because I don't have that big of an internet following. If I had a massive internet following, I might have considered it. But
you and your massive internet following.
My partner, Kat.
See, I'm no good at
I'm
good at the double entendre, am I? I've got a massive internet following. No, it doesn't.
It doesn't work.
I don't have a big massive. You have to have seriously the really successful sort of OnlyFans people, especially men, they have thousands of followers before they even start doing it. So that's why they're successful. If you don't have that, you're pissing in the wind.
Oh, thanks a bunch, mate. Just before we go on, Kat, as my partner's in the chat, and she's written that she's listening because she's deaf, so she gets the captions up, and the captions just say cello, cello.
Cello. I like
cello.
And she said, I'm sure that really conveys how beautifully you played.
Definitely. It recognized it.
Well, as long as it captioned it with cello and not violin, I'll allow it.
Well, no, it must have picked up that it was a cello. It said cello, cello.
Yeah. Well, that's something. That is something. Did you see the banner? Sorry, I'm sorry to take a sudden sidetrack, but did you see the banner? The Bannergate. Have you seen how many of you have seen Bannergate?
So this was the Refoot councillors holding up a banner saying they would rather vote for Jimmy Savile than vote for Labour.
Yeah.
That is just not the flex they think that it is.
A lot of them. It's not like, one Reform councillor had a lapse of judgment and accidentally got. Yeah, it's not like one guy had a lapse of judgment and accidentally ordered a gigantic printed banner with that design. A whole bunch of them took photos with it, posted it, allowed it to be on the internet for hours before they finally twigged maybe it wasn't a good idea.
But then no, but the worst thing was that they didn't twig it was a bad idea. They
they're
came
still
out
saying.
and tried to say that it had been created by AI, and here's the real post, and the real poster was obviously created by AI, and they spent the whole of the 2 days claiming that this had been made up by the left until the polls closed, and then they came out and apologized for it. Which is just shows a complete disdain for their own voters, really. In that, we are
What,
going to
do they
lie
think
to
they're
you. We are going to
stupid?
lie to your face. We think you're stupid. And oh, by the way, the polls are closed now, so we'll admit to
Well,
this.
it
'Cause
works
doesn't
it
matter.
works in America.
Yeah, I
That's
think.
that's how Trump wins.
Yeah.
He thinks everyone's stupid. They all go, yeah, we are. We'll vote for you.
Yeah.
There's an element
Yeah.
of it where you can get away with it to a point. You can get away with it to a point, but I also think that the problem they've got there is that they've launched a full broadside attack on one of their own major selling points, which is the idea that they are the party to deal with grooming gangs, they're the party to deal with, sex crimes and attacks on children. And it's like they clearly aren't. If they're saying I would rather vote for Savile, that seems like a pretty major
Sounds like an
disqualification.
endorsement for a pedophile.
Yeah, they've always read to me as leave our women and children alone. We want to abuse them.
Yes,
That's kind of their line.
So,
really.
We need to get rid of all the foreigners that abuse our children, so that
Yeah.
the white people can. You know what I mean? That's
Exactly.
what it sounds like.
That's the danger. And it's like I always, when I see protect our women and girls, I'm afraid my brain reads control. Protection and control are two sides of the same coin.
I agree. It's sort of like it's that very sort of like old mentality, the sort of invasion. And what are they coming to invade? What are they coming to get? They're coming to take our women. It's this very sort of weird misogynistic sort of
It would be like 4 men sitting there talking about women's rights on a podcast.
It's nothing like that.
That's what we're doing.
But we've got a cello.
What's wrong with that?
We have a cello.
We have a cello.
No, Mike. I'm sorry. What's wrong with that?
Nothing.
Of course, we should be talking about women's rights. We're the people that should be talking about them.
Oh, I completely agree. But what we should be talking about is the fact that it isn't really a women's issue; it's a man's issue.
Yeah,
and it's men that
exactly.
need to be sorted out. I think that was the misread that Putin made completely, which is that she made it an issue of, well, if you can keep these dangerous men out of the way, the women will be okay. And the reality is, no, do something about the fucking dangerous men, including the majority of whom vote for you. And in fact, your candidate appears to be one of these people. So
exactly. I was just thinking, but also the guy who was in Parliament, right? Didn't he get done when he was a kid for smacking up his girlfriend?
Yeah. It's always a men's issue, It's like
it is.
We drape them in. We drape them in ways to talk about it that are wrong. It's just sort your fucking men out, basically, and that's a big issue for society. And I think that's the biggest threat that we face from the right. To be honest with you, if anything, it's the story should be protect our children and boys. Basically, it's let's make sure that we are bringing up boys to turn them into reasonable men in society.
Unfortunately, though, it still remains a very subjective thing, right? Because unfortunately, you still have a lot of people who are brought up to believe that this sort of toxic masculinity that we've all discussed is the way forward. That's all they know.
And that toxic masculinity is very, very lucrative for certain people on the internet.
It's the other thing about the football that struck me as well, that I didn't see much about the story today, but it's James O'Brien was talking about it, and it's pretty obvious when you think about it. I watched the England game. I can't help myself in World Cups, but I disagree with it, almost everything about all of this, except I want to see if England managed to win or not, or lose dramatically. And I was really struck by, I was watching the game and they were playing well in the second half. At the beginning of the second half, it was like watching Brazil play in a World Cup back in the day. They were just awesome for 20 minutes. And I sat there thinking how, a large percentage of the fans that were in that crowd, the fans watching at home, will be racist reform voters. And I don't understand how you can look at that team with Jude Bellingham scoring the way he did, etc., with Saka on the wing. I do not understand how you can look at that team, or even any football team in this country, regardless of the colour of the skin, but the nationalities of people playing for them, and be racist. And then, of course, there's a bunch of racist shit on Twitter the next day about the way the black players played.
Yeah.
In a game that we could have won 10-0 basically if if it had gone a different way, that we should have been proud of the fact that England won. And it
was brilliant.
It's a fine line,
and also
between the macho football supporting us and the racist, sexist, misogynistic incel types.
Not a single red card or yellow card in that match.
Yeah,
it was a very very well mannered match. And the Croatian team are good. They're a good team. Do you know what I mean?
Solid team.
It's not like we were playing Curacao or something, or we drew to bloody Cape Verde.
Listen, anyone that watches this show knows I'm not particularly into the soccer ball, basically. But I started watching it feeling like, I'm looking at the lineup of players and thinking, well, I think I know Jude Bellingham and I know Harry Kane. I don't know anybody else in this team. I've never heard any of these names, basically. Yeah. So it's a really young team, because it must be. You've heard of Marcus radically
Rashford.
Changed.
He scored the 4th goal.
Yeah. He came on in the. Did he come on in the second half?
Yeah.
It
was brilliant, and he's,
he was.
And he campaigns for kids to get free fucking school meals,
school dinners. Yeah,
more than a lot of people who are
rich,
who are well known bother doing.
See, there's another thing that we just keep forgetting to use the vernacular. Kids are getting breakfast in schools nowadays because
of Keir Starmer.
Nourishment
and yet there's people on the right and people on the left who call him kid starver because he didn't get rid of the 2-child benefit cap quick enough, even though they said in the manifesto they will get rid of it when the economy allows them to. And then as soon as the economy allowed them to, they got rid of it. Oh, you should have done it last year. Oh, it's like, I didn't read a story in the newspaper about a child starving to death in that year.
I think I'm going to say carefully. I think this is where, again, the messaging was really wrong. And I think that this is where Andy Burnham, being a politician, sometimes you do have to do things that are a little bit performative in politics, if they are an expression of your values, because people need to know that your values mean something to you. And I think the optics of saying this is a thing that needs to be done, but also we're not going to do it yet, is the worst of both worlds in lots of ways, especially in terms of public perception, but just in reality. Like, if we think as a moral point that children should not be going hungry, why delay? That is, and I understand the argument about the economics of it, but you find a way to make the budget work. If that's your line, that you want to abolish the 2-child benefit cap, you go ahead and you do it soon. You don't wait around to do it, because we know, we who represent deprived communities know what an absolute scourge the 2-child benefit cap was on deprived communities. And there's all sorts of claptrap that gets put about people in deprived communities, welfare queens, all of that stuff. But they're not the ones who have to feed and clothe a family of children after a relationship breakdown. They're not the ones who have to live with difficult circumstances. They're not the ones who are calling up their counsellors because they've got black mold in the living room or in the hall, and they need someone to chase up the housing association or get enforcement to crack down on them. It's easy for some to pontificate about this stuff from a distance, but they don't have that lived experience of what it's like to be in or to work in that kind of deprivation. So I think the party made a mistake in not getting on with dealing with the 2-child benefit cap right away. I think, I don't like the monikers. I don't like the name calling. I don't think calling Keir Starmer a kid starver was at all appropriate. It's something that it's a kind of bully boy culture that has appeared all across politics. And I think we need to get well away from, because it's horrible. I'm sure each and every one of you, and I'm sure loads of people in the chat have had that experience of someone lashing out at you and going straight for a personal attack. Oh, scruffy beard. Oh, silly hat. Oh, you're fat. Oh, you're this. Oh, you're that. And before you know it, they've ripped into
why don't you like
individual features.
What's wrong with my beard?
Who here is wearing a hat? Only me.
I was wearing a hat
I'm the only one
today.
wearing a hat.
I was wearing a hat earlier today.
To be
Graham,
fair, Graham is
Graham
is the only one with a beard, a hat, and he's fat. So I think you should.
Thank you for digging my hole deeper.
More of me to love. It's just more of me to love,
Is that what you call it when you do it on the weekends?
We got some super chats come in. We got one from Chris C for £2. Thank you very much for Dizz's Confetti Fix because she is amazing. And we also got from Martin Howard another £2. Show some affection for Diz. So thank you, Diz, who is modding solo tonight. So she's already mod. Well, and me as well. I'm keeping an eye on that as well. Ernie says, it is about fragility and insecurity, overcompensation of an inferiority complex, worried they're not strong enough, not clever enough, not attractive enough, so they bully and lie. Yeah, I can't argue with that.
Oh, there's nothing worse than having a political argument than someone just looks at you and goes, "You're fat," and you're like, "You have no argument.
Yeah,
you're not intelligent enough."
But it's like someone who's shit at banter. You know, banter. The joy in banter is you say things that aren't actually true.
Yeah.
Once you start having a go at like people for like things that they are feeling insecurities about, it's not banter. It's just bullying.
That's just
and some people don't get it. Some people are shit at banter. I think that they'll come in, everyone else is like laughing about shagging each other's dads or something. They'll come in and go, yeah, but you're fucking fat.
Your face is fucking ugly. And you're like,
your teeth are all over the shop.
Yeah.
And you're just like,
oh, cheers, bro.
Oh, thanks. Up to that point, we've all having a good time. It's like The Simpsons where he undoes the salt shaker and they shake it and it all comes out. Yeah, you've gone too far. You took it too far, Homer. You took it too far. Anyway, should we move on to some other things that have happened this week? Because there's a lot to get through. And it's already 17 minutes past 10, which is ridiculous. Under 16 social media ban. How are we feeling?
Well, I don't care. I'm not under 16.
Okay, Scott doesn't care. We should get buttons for everyone to press so it comes up on the screen.
That was a very concise take. I salute it.
Mike, who has come into possession of a third grandchild, I believe, this week. Congratulations.
I do.
Bloody hell, your sons are fertile.
He's just shooting them out.
I'm off to see her at the weekend.
Fertile son.
Tiny little Fallon. She's so pretty and beautiful. The under 16 ban. Well, here's interesting. Both of my sons, when their kids were born, had a ban on saying anything on social media about it. Don't want to reveal their birthdays, don't want to reveal their names, don't want them to have a presence on social media that they're not aware of.
Yep.
Which I think is a really healthy thing. Yep. It drives my ex-wife nuts because she so desperately wants to put pictures of herself and her granddaughter. I did get around it by drawing cartoons of my grandchildren, so I get to do things like that. But I think that's really healthy. I have a friend who works for the police, doing social media aimed at young people, young adults, teenagers, and he has quite a strong view that that banning an age restriction ban is not the answer. That politically he can understand why it's an answer. But the reality is that you're punishing the wrong people in this situation as far as he's concerned. Now, he's not saying that there isn't terrible things going on social media and messaging boards, because that's what he deals with every day. They run a service that explains the law in a friendly and funny way, but also has the ability to communicate directly with kids, and they do. They work closely with a lot of charities to help these kids, and very often, I mean, he describes it as the bobbies on Instagram, in that they are often the first place that vulnerable people can reach out and actually communicate with adults outside of their family or with the police directly. And if you take that away from them, his concern is, well, what happens then? Because we're dealing with a lot of vulnerable people, and 9 times out of 10, it's people writing to them and saying, I don't know what to do about this, but my dad, that's the kind of thing that they're dealing with all the time. So he's very worried about that. And he thinks that really the punishment should entirely be being thrown at the, oligarchs and billionaires that are trying to control our lives through these social media platforms. And I completely agree. And I think politically, I can understand why it was easy prey to go for the ban. I personally think that that Starmer, particularly in the situation it is in at the moment where you can't win, you're not going to win these people over. I would have gone for the fucking jugulars, basically.
So I'm part of the first generation that didn't quite grow up with social media and yet did. I was a teenager around the time that social media was really beginning to take off.
All right.
I kind of missed the boat. I kind of missed the boat a little bit with Facebook initially, believe it or not. That might sound really weird to people now because I do so much with it. But, back in the day when it was cool for young people to be on it, I was not.
No.
And it's interesting sort of being part of the first generation to have properly grown up and actually have some experience with social media. I was quite isolated when I was a teenager. Social media was my means of reaching out to the world when I couldn't get out of the house so much and when I wasn't, well networked. The people that I had known at school had moved on without me, and there was me trying to find my way. Social media was a godsend in lots of ways, and yet it is such a dangerous space. We've allowed it to become so. I think I understand the logic of the under-16s ban. I think it's something of an emergency measure, but I think it is very much a stopgap. And I think from my perspective, I don't think it's something that should last long term. I think it's a stopgap right now. I think what I would be looking for is a much more accountability for social media companies and much more ability for the government to actually do basic moderation itself, or to have an independent office that does moderation, because there are too many platforms that do not treat content moderation like it is serious business. And actually the nastiness and the bilge they're dealing with, the filth they're dealing with, should probably be going through a much more combined approach. People imagine if something is horrifying, it gets given to the police. That just isn't always the case. In fact, that's very often not the case. And it should be,
and often it's mistreated in that situation as well.
It needs to be joined together. I think that there needs to be a joining up of law enforcement and moderation.
I have believed this for years, and I've been told over and over again by people in the industry that that we shouldn't do it. But I think we missed a trick of regulating it as publishers. We should have done that right in the beginning. They are publishers. I think we should take a leap around this one now, put this ban in, and then we should go for AI and regulate them as publishers. Because ultimately
there was an excuse to say, well, we've got 1 billion people on our platform. We can't possibly moderate all of these posts. They've got AI now that can do it.
That's kind of like saying that there's lead in all the pipes, so therefore we're going to have to drink lead. That's a terrible reason. That's terrible reasoning. Like if the system is full of poison, shut it off and start again. Clean it out.
Chris C, super chat. Thank you for the £2 super chat. Classify social media platforms as publishers.
I agree. I believe that. I've believed that from the very beginning, and I think if you look at a lot of what goes on social media, I mean, listen, we all benefit from it to a great extent. I wouldn't have an income if it was not for social media, but I treat it as a publishing platform. I'm very careful about the way I use it. I don't abuse it in any way, shape, or form, and I just think it's not difficult. In fact, I posted a video. I'm still under a 12-month restriction on my Trumpton account because I posted a video of Tommy Robinson saying something, and I put a comment underneath that video, and basically I've got a 12-month restriction on the account because I was sharing hateful speech. Yeah. All right. Now I kind of agree with it. I think that's fine. I shouldn't probably have been allowed to do that. That's fine. But then I took that video from their platform, from Tommy Robinson's site, and they didn't take it down for him. So I don't understand how that happens. Yeah. And I think if you start, you absolutely have to apply some publishing standards to it. And that means that the people publishing on it, 80% or so of users of social media don't say it or publish anything. They read it. And there is a 20% noisy buggers like us, basically, that use it a lot more as a publishing platform, and a lot of people that use it then for publishing their green ink complaint letters about everything.
We just got another super chat in. Sorry, I'll come to you in a sec, Ed. The Hiddenite, thank you, says £2 super chat. Thank you. Says confetti time. Since you asked so delightfully nicely, I will confer confetti on you all. Here you go. 3, 2, 1. Confetti! Woo! Confetti! Yeah! So very exciting stuff there. Fantastic. But yes, okay, so here's my take on it. I welcome it. I've got 2 stepdaughters. One's 11, the other one's 15. So we're right in the thick of all this. I welcome it because at the moment, there is no mechanism for taking these fuckers down from the government's point of view. They need to work on serious legislation. And I agree with Chrissy and everyone else who said we should be looking at social media platforms as publishers, because I don't think it's just kids who need protecting. I think
absolutely
older people, vulnerable older people who are a bit dim, need protecting as well. Because you got a lot of people who are like retired and they're addicted. They're absolutely addicted to social media, and the dopamine hits get a lot more dopamine-y when you're outraged. And then you put a message on saying, oh, this is disgraceful. And then someone starts to fight with you on the internet. And it's a nice fight for someone who's got a lot of time on their hands to be nasty to a stranger, because you don't have to look them in the eye. So they get to, go down that route. And it is absolutely toxic. And if it wasn't for social media, we wouldn't have had Trump. We wouldn't have had Brexit.
Yeah. And like Ed says, I think it's a short-term solution at the moment, because imagine your 16th birthday. When you get to use social media and it is revealed to you what social media is, it won't have changed in that time, basically. And I fundamentally agree with you, Graham, that actually the problem is the people that have come, people like Ed, that bastard that's grown up with social media as part of his life. I was just sitting there thinking, yeah, I remember when computers were revealed to us, basically. So, but if you've grown up with it, what I'm finding with that generation, with my son's generation, is that they have a wary but much better attitude to it. They don't use it. My kids don't use it, really. Only for major announcements, and that's about it, really. And I think that generation is growing up to understand it. And I think if you ban it for under 16s, they're not. You're just creating a forbidden fruit for them. What we absolutely can do and should do is create a safe environment to communicate with each other and all the benefits of social media. And there are many, many, many benefits of it.
There is a factor that we've not talked about, and I've not heard anybody else name in this conversation, and I think is important, which is, how do you define what is social media? Like, what are the boundaries of it? For example, we all agree Facebook is social media. What about the YouTube comments? Are those social media? Because they're fundamentally different. Okay, if we say YouTube comments are social media, then is watching a YouTube video social media?
Yeah.
And then,
Pinterest, Vinted, Etsy, anything that you're allowed to put public comments, basically.
So does that mean that niche internet sites are social media? Is Wikipedia social media? Because you can, has chat pages.
Yes. And the thing with Wikipedia is that they wouldn't be in breach of the regulation.
There is
already. They're not. They wouldn't have to change anything about what they do in order for them to, because there's a self-moderating community to a great extent. And social media back in the day, I'm old enough to remember, and was working in that space at the time. Social media was a self-moderating environment. I mean, you used to be able to putting a tweet. Right at the beginning, 2008, when it first arrived, report a tweet, and it was automatically taken down for review, right? Because it was a self-regulating community at the time, and increasingly, and under X, it's transformed itself completely now. But now it is an unregulated platform unless it's regulated in favour of the owner.
But I think there's another problem which I've also not heard, which I was going to get to, which is, what about games, like online games? A lot of online games have chat components. They are themselves highly social. Are we going to ban Call of Duty? Are we going to ban Roblox?
No, because nobody is suggesting. Nobody's suggesting that any of these things need to be banned. Everybody is suggesting that they need to be properly regulated communities. And if you look at the billions and billions of dollars that all of these companies are making out of this environment, of our own content that we're creating and our own conversations, it is not a feasible excuse for them to say they can't afford to moderate it. They can afford to moderate it.
Scott.
We're going to duck out, guys. I'm really, really tired.
All right. It says on your T-shirt, "No rest for the wicked." So I don't know if I should allow you. Hey, you're meeting me tomorrow. You meet me tomorrow at 10.
Yeah, I am. I'm seeing you at 11 o'clock tomorrow.
Okay. I don't know if I'll be able to get over that fast, but I'll try.
I know. 11, quarter past 11.
Yeah, I'll text you.
Yeah,
try not to get my phone robbed. I'm trying not to get murdered in that there London.
Lovely to see you again, Scott. Ice cream et al.
Thanks for coming on, Scott.
Thank you, guys.
Love you, man.
And thank you for putting up with my disgustingness. Edward, it's lovely to see you again.
Likewise. Good to see you.
Hello, too. Cello,
Doesn't like-
cello.
Yeah, you're a big cello, bro.
Cello, bro.
Comparatively with the EU, because they are a big enough market that if they say no, you can't do this, that big American tech companies are kind of forced to listen whether they like to or not, because the EU is a big enough market, it could generate meaningful competition.
And I actually think nowadays where we should be doing this is because we're dealing with a 30-year-old problem here that we failed to deal with 30 years ago, and that's what we're suffering from now. That I think we should shoehorn this regulation and control into proper AI legislation, and I think in exactly the same way that you describe it, Ed, which is that you start with the EU, but you also look at all the African countries, the Commonwealth countries, the Australia and Canada in particular, and you look at the fact that all of us don't stand a chance as countries to compete with China and America on AI. China and America are using it for nefarious purposes for the state, and they're completely unregulated from that perspective. In fact, positively encouraged to do the bad things that they're doing. And then you've got players like Russia who are taking advantage of all of that. We are a massive market for AI. We will increasingly be massive markets, but not providers in that space. And, I'm fed up with listening to British ministers and prime ministers saying, well, we're doing all right because Google have got an office in fucking King's Cross. That's absolute bullshit. The money is going to America. The regulation is done in America. Nothing that these guys are doing is affected by the British economy, and they will just go and do it in Ireland or the Isle of Man or Guernsey, if not London. So what we fundamentally need to do is look at AI in the same way, treat them as publishers, roll those laws out, and then just apply it to social media, because social media over the next 4 or 5 years will increasingly become an AI problem anyway. I go and look at WhatsApp and look at the shiny button that asks you if you'd like it to take over your conversation for you, which I find remarkably fucking horrifying. And you'll realize that it needs to be regulated in exactly the same way.
Sorry, just to jump in, because I need to let you both know that we were not broadcasting there for a lot of that. Because when Scott said "Tara," OBS crashed.
Oh wow!
So you need to say
well,
it
you
all
crashed. We were still
we were having
we
a
were still
fantastic
rabbiting
conversation.
away.
We just solved all of the world's problems. Like we've got a whole manifesto.
But everyone missed
Ed did
it.
a fantastic mashup of Beethoven's Fifth and the
Yeah.
Gorillas, Clint
I
Eastwood,
played a
which was
second
awesome.
cello with my feet.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
I
Sorry,
didn't.
everyone missed that. So my one of my solutions, and you can argue with me if you like on this one. I want there to be, and I don't want a stupid answer about this, about you just get an old Nokia that hasn't got a fucking touchscreen on it. But I want there to be a phone that I can buy for my kids that doesn't allow any paedophiles to contact me kids on it. I don't want to go, here you go. Here's a bit of technology.
But,
watch out for all the paedophiles. So I want a phone.
In a free market. There's nothing in a free market preventing that, and it could be possible. The problem actually is the operating systems. It's Google and Apple that need to be addressed on this, and that's where we should be taking the fight.
Yeah, but the operating systems already exist, and I'm talking about making them hardware responsive to that one operating system. And if you don't make the program, you don't make the app, and it doesn't get approved, you can't run it on that phone.
And these are the technical restrictions, but I think government's job is to regulate the two leading providers of platforms and create laws that would stop another platform coming along that could subvert that. And it's not difficult.
Well, that's why we could do with a whitelist of apps that are you can put on a kid's phone. I want it to be a separate phone, and then on your 16th birthday, you get a grown-up phone, and you say, "Watch out for all the pedophiles."
And Google and Apple should be forced to do that, or use their ability to license technology on the phone.
If they can be forced to have the same fucking USB-C jack, then do you know what I mean? Like, this is the sort of thing they should be saying. Listen, we want to have because if you have a blacklist, you were saying what was social media earlier, like what counts as social media? Because Call of Duty, Roblox, does that count as social media? Right.
And anything with two-way communication and direct messaging.
So we had this big problem a few years ago with drugs because we were losing the war on drugs, but we've won it now, so it's okay. What kept happening is the government kept on bringing in these regulations saying this is illegal. This is a prescribed, what do they call it? Not prescribed, what's it called?
A controlled substance.
Controlled substance. And then the drug dealers would just change the chemical composition a little bit by a couple of, they'll push a few molecules to the right. And then they go, no, this is a completely different thing now. And they'll give it a new name. on the street, and they go, well, so you're playing whack-a-mole all the time. So what I'm saying with a kids-friendly phone is that the only apps that are on it and on a not the ones that aren't on a blacklist. Sorry, the ones that
If you look at,
they're the ones that are on a white list that have been approved for children to use. And this isn't the case of the government deciding, what apps are applicable and what's not, because it's a bit like, CBBS or something. They're not going to put the Texas Chainsaw Massacre on CBBS because they know what the audience is. It should be the same mentality for the platforms and the phone makers.
Just as anecdotally, many years ago, I went to see somebody at the BBC. We were working for them on a children's series, and I was concerned about my kids' use of social media at the time. And I asked somebody at BBC Worldwide. We put a proposal to them as to why it was important that the BBC created an environment where kids could communicate, a social media platform, if you like, for kids within CBBC using that branding. And I put the case, which was a very, like the original case for the BBC, which is that this world is a fucking mess. The commercialization of this market is a mess. And the BBC should come in and inform, educate, and entertain our children in a safe and responsible way. And you should take on the responsibility for that. And the woman that was in charge of BBC Worldwide Kids at the time said to me, "Look, Mike, I get it, but we have a problem on a massive scale already with what we do. We couldn't take on the moderation of a CBBC social media platform." And she said, "Let me give you an example." She said, "I am currently," and she held up a piece of paper, said, "I'm currently dealing with a legal claim against us because the Tinky Winky dolls that we license have been found to be used as vibrators by small children." And she said,
hell.
If we're having to regulate against that, if we're having to fight that every day, imagine us trying.
Yeah.
And again, I think they missed a trick because I think they could have done it easier than, I did say to her, well, Tinky Winky is a bit of a cock, so it makes sense to me. But the regulation in that space, providing safe things, like you say, a Tinky Winky doll is not something you would imagine being used that way, but it was.
Yeah.
The reality is that in a marketplace, you can create a safe phone, you can create safe white app lists, etc. That's not government's place. What the government should be doing is saying, we will treat you as a publisher. If bad things happen on your watch, you will be prosecuted for it.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
Well,
and that's what the industry, the internet industry, the web industry, and the app industry and phone industry has been fighting, in my experience, for 40 or 50 years. And you've only got to look at the fact that the oligarchs that sat in the White House when Trump was inaugurated, what they got out of that and their donations to the ballroom and to Trump's private funds was a 10-year moratorium on any regulation of AI. All right. Now, why do they want that? Yeah. They want it because they're happy for people to be using it for porn, for hateful abuse, because as long as they've got eyeballs on their screens, they're advertising, they're making money.
Yeah, and needs to be regulated, as with everything. Chris
C. And if they're lobbying hard and paying fortunes out to be unregulated, we should be fucking regulating them. It's as simple as that. Basically.
Chris C says, "Can I point out that the latest version of iOS and Android allow parents to restrict what apps the phones can download and use?" Yeah, but the problem is that the kids are using adult apps. So you have something like WhatsApp. So Savax has said, "We can't just remove under 16s from platforms and expect them to stay out. They will want to be in touch with their peers and need a dedicated space for them." That's why I'm saying we need kids' phones, a separate phone, separate operating system. They do not work. You cannot jailbreak them. You cannot open them up and use a soldering iron to get them to run the adult version of WhatsApp. WhatsApp Junior is just, let me finish, Mike. Hang on, Mike. Let me tell you what I've got in my head. It's WhatsApp. It's almost exactly what WhatsApp already is, except you cannot send any photographs. That stops anyone from sending a naked picture of themselves to the little mates in school. You cannot send someone a message unless their number is in your phone. Or you might even want to go one further, that you've actually got to touch phones with your little mate in school, and then their phone number is in your phone number is in their phone, and you can contact each other. You know each other in real life, and that is there. At the moment, all the kids around here have got WhatsApp. It's what they use mostly to communicate with each other. There is literally nothing stopping a paedophile sending a picture of his cock to any of the kids here if they get the number. Those kids can be put into a group on WhatsApp, and with that against their will, and then everyone in the group gets their phone number.
My thought on this is a couple of things. I was in a little mini conference earlier today. I sort of poked my head in, and they were talking about control of drugs. They were talking about the supply of controlled substances. What went wrong with the war on drugs fundamentally is that as long as there is a desire to have them, people will find a way to supply them. You can't defeat drug dealing purely by going after and prosecuting drug dealers. You also do need to actually reduce the demand. You need to change the way that market is working. You need to make consumers more resistant against this stuff fundamentally. I think when it comes to regulating social media, I hear a lot of ideas, but I think it's difficult to find an easy way to sort of like a single fix that solves all of them. I would definitely say
there isn't one.
The two things that come to my mind are that we've allowed American tech to colonize our entire ecosystem for social media. That, I think, needs to change, because America could flick a switch on a wall and switch off almost all of our social media, which would cripple communications across the country for a lot of families. It would be colossally disruptive. I'm not sure that we would quickly adapt to it. It would be a huge, huge problem. If you'll bear with me a second. So, we are hugely vulnerable. What is to say that we shouldn't be having a state-run equivalent of WhatsApp or something like that? But fundamentally, the report button, where does that go? It ends at Facebook moderation. Why can't police be allowed and referred this stuff? Why can't there be a police department or a regulator?
This comes back to the work my mate's doing, basically, to provide exactly that service, and the concern that he's got that it will be switched off and no access to it.
I mean,
and the other thing that he brings up is the evidence, as you say, from Australia, that it's barely affected kids. And I agree with you, Graham, that there is a way to do it. I don't think government should ever be regulating how a computer should work, how software should work. I think they should be regulating the people that make the money from those platforms, because and Ed, I'd also agree with you. The biggest problem that I've always had with social media, when I treat it as a publishing platform and a content platform, and I always have done since being involved in the internet years ago, is that the fact is that all the money that is being made out of the content in that space is going back to America.
Yes.
And the reason that our television industry fights above its weight is that government regulated it in such a way that the money had to be reinvested in British content with rules and regulations and restrictions on how that can work. And I think if we did that, if we created a regulation environment that encouraged British providers to provide alternatives that work within the laws, discourage Americans from altering their product that's making a fortune for them in Zambia because there's no regulation, so they avoid a market like ours, we would actually have a strong case. I've made this case for a while, that one of the stories that I always love is that when they nationalized the broadcasting system and the telecom systems, it was done because of observing what was happening with the commercialization of those things in America, the completely deregulated way that broadcasting and telephony was working. And they were brought in with fear in this country to create a regulation, create the BBC, create those platforms. We never did that with social media. I was involved in a project that tried to get that to happen, a public service publisher. And we should have done that. There should have been a WhatsApp that was acceptable for those people. Because one of the problems you've got is with this age restriction, that what happens on the coming of age day. If you've built up your entire social life on a phone that won't let you share pictures, and on your 16th birthday you're allowed to share pictures, don't be, I understand why my kids don't want their children's birthdays putting up on Facebook from that reason. That's foresight on their part, which is saying what happens when they turn 16 and somebody can clearly tell they've just turned 16. All right. So, I think everything has got compounded problems, but the biggest thing we should do is stop listening to the billionaires that tell us that they should be above the law, because it's very easy for us to introduce laws that say, no, it's regulated. I think we suffer from it on here. You get definanced, or you used to, if we swore. If we let Wayne on the fucking channel, we would definitely lose money all the time.
Them were the days when we used to make a bit of money on the channel, though, so it doesn't make any difference anymore.
That's a commercial company, Google, regulating their own platform and controlling you through financial institutions, and that's the way you do this.
Svax, who I think is probably the only person in the chat who seems to be on my wavelength on this. This is why I say that kids need kids-only social media. There will always be a demand for it. I couldn't agree more. That is exactly what I'm saying. Have a separate platform for kids to use where they can communicate with each other. They can use a version of social media that has all the paedophiles sucked out of it.
But Graham, I have to tell you, there are some fucking awful kids out there as well.
Yes,
you know?
yes. But then to go to another message, Chris is talking about how one of the problems with WhatsApp is it's end-to-end encrypted, so that if it's deleted on the kid's phone, it's deleted on the paedophile's phone. It can't be seen by the police, right? So obviously that won't be the case on the junior version. We've got YouTube Kids, which our kids use, which is great. It works. It's fine. They use that. And they don't need to watch the adult videos. And obviously, YouTube has spent some money doing that. Because at the end of the day, it's kind of in the interests of these companies to do this kind of shit.
Google do that for fear of regulation.
Yes.
That's the point.
Yeah.
The point is, if you've got good regulation, particularly the European regulation on this. And I just want to go back to this story about the telecom system, that one of the companies that refused to join the national, the GPO at the time, telephone network was Hull, and until the year, I think 2005, something like that, Hull was an independent telephone company, completely providing independent services in this country. And the reason it survived was it stuck out. It was the Hull Council that ran the telecoms in Hull. It was one reason. There was a democracy oversight on it. The other one was that British Telecom used Hull as a test bed for everything it ever launched. The first fax machines, the first mobile phones, all of that was done in Hull because it was a separately regulated body. One of the benefits we have in this country that probably won't make me popular, but a benefit of Brexit, is that we do not have to comply with either American or European rules on this. So instead of making us the Wild West, which is what we are at the moment, that our limited levels of regulation on this allow companies to come and try things out on our market, we should provide that as a service, but with our own morals and democracy added to it. So yes, you can use this as a test bed for good products. Yeah,
I agree. But YouTube Kids is not being banned, by the way. YouTube is for under 16s, but YouTube Kids is not being banned, and I think that's fine
because Google saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah, and that's what we need. We need a Facebook Kids.
I'd call him acquaintance rather than a friend. He started the Internet Watch Foundation because he was making billions of dollars out of the internet, and he could see the writing on the wall that eventually it would be regulated.
But we can talk about regulation all we like, but you mentioned earlier that there's got to be horrible kids who do horrible things, and we need to make sure that they can't use the adult tools that they're given in order to drive some poor lad or poor girl to suicide.
All the kids' tools.
I think
that's the point. How do you regulate that?
It's always really helpful, I think, first of all, to identify what particular problems we want to solve and then go after them one by one by one. I think one of the dangers that we have with this whole debate around how you regulate social media is we're trying to do everything all at once. And I don't think that's quite what needs to be achieved. We're not going to get to perfection overnight. Utopia won't be achieved in a day. I think that we have a lot of us grown up with social media, and I think social media will continue to, whether we like it or not, be a part of kids' lives for a very long time, because they will find ways around any restrictions that are put up. So what we've got to do, and I think this goes back to where we began here, we've got to make social media a safer place in general. If it is a toxic cesspit, that is a reason that it needs cleaning out, and it needs rethinking severely. And I think that there needs to be a much clearer pipeline for getting hostile, abusive, harassment, and vile abuse. Like if someone is sending unsolicited pictures, naked photos to other people, there ought to be a fear that could end up in front of a policeman at some point. And if they knew that sending that picture to a woman unsolicited could end up in front of PC Plod, they would probably not be quite so keen on doing it.
Yeah. And I come back to the fact that the platform also needs to fear that.
Yes. Yeah.
Because that way they will put in the tools that require it to be stopped. I'll give you another example from the past. We were asked to do a project for 3, the mobile network. And they wanted us to create a music show for them, which we did. We did an alternative Eurovision. And the budget was almost endless. They just gave us almost a blank check to do this. And I asked them at one point, look, can I just ask why nobody's watching this? Why are you funding it to this degree? I'm not complaining. Thanks very much for all the money. But fundamentally, why? Explain to me the reasons for doing this. And they said, well, basically, our shares have gone up dramatically because of the traffic we get from digital data transfers on phones. And we cannot explain to the shareholders that that's because people are sending naked pictures of themselves to each other and naked videos of themselves to each other. So we're going to create nice content so that we can show that to the shareholders to explain the traffic that we're getting on the mobile network. Now that's the problem that they were dealing with. That's a commercial problem that they just were embarrassed to say we've become the porn network of mobile phones. The self-generated porn network, right? So this is all human nature that we're dealing with, and it will be like, if you think about the ban, the age restriction on porn sites, think about the hoo-ha that was caused over that, having to provide your identity to get onto a porn site. That's about, what, 6 months ago now? Is anyone complaining about it anymore? Because they've all found their ways around it. Because it turns out that you've given your data to everybody, and it doesn't matter if you give it to a porn site if you really want that porn. Nobody died. The regulation was screamed about, but nobody died in the process. Nobody lost any money. Fundamentally, you can stick the regulation in. It will be fucking painful because people complain that they won't be able to use it the way they want to. I've always said, working in the internet for years, the people that complain about what horrible things could happen to kids quite often know exactly how they're using social media and they're applying it to kids.
I think there's also a piece in here about the conversation about freedom of speech. There's always going to be a resistance to any change or any regulation on social media because people are frightened of losing their freedom of speech. I will just simply say to that, the public square has already been privatized and is owned by a handful of the world's billionaires. I think we're already well past the point that freedom of speech has been taken out the back of the shed and shot. The question is, what are we replacing it with? What are we actually putting forwards that is better than the current Wild West? And I think that any new paradigm for social media that actually has a modicum of accountability for making awful comments, that has a modicum of accountability for harassing, for stalking, for doxing people, sounds like a vast improvement to me.
And also on the positive side of that, if you had a national, a government-backed system, like a BBC for the internet, effectively, so it's not run by the government but licensed by the government to operate, like a Channel 4 or a BBC.
Sorry, Mike.
Then you could also provide an upside to all of that. Are we gone again?
No,
being restricted.
You were just saying bring back CFAX, weren't you?
Yeah. But if you had a government system like that, basically, then you could also provide access. One of the things that was magical about the freedom of speech aspect to an extent of Twitter, for example, was that you did suddenly have the ability to talk to a politician and have an answer, to talk to somebody famous and get their opinion back in response to you. Not very often, but it did happen. It happens less and less nowadays because of the way the systems work. And one of the reasons the government refuses to leave Twitter is that they believe it is a public square and a platform. Have a government-regulated system that really does provide you with access to your councils, with access to your politicians, with access to their meetings, etc. It's also an easy gig to sell to politicians to say we'll provide a social media platform where we'll show them videos of you all the time, basically. They'll buy into whatever it is you tell them that you want to put in there. It's not impossible to do. You know, Channel 4, Margaret Thatcher approved Channel 4.
Oh,
I always think that's
hello, Wayne. Story. I was just about to say we're about to wrap up, and then Wayne turns up. Hello, Wayne. How you doing, mate? Can you hear us? He's in the dark. He's got his night vision goggles on. What's he up to?
Talking of becoming regulated on social media, let's let Wayne talk for 3 minutes and see if we can get shut down.
I was going to wrap up, Wayne, because you know I'm coming to London tomorrow.
I don't know if you can hear me because my headphones won't turn off.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you, yes.
All right, cool. I just my interest was piqued when Mike decided to say that I would get us all demonetized because I swear a lot.
Yes, you do, you cunt.
He's winding you up.
No. See, this cunt's nicking my gimmick.
I know it's copyright infringement, Wayne. I think that you should 100%.
Sue. I think I might even be able to go for cultural appropriation.
We'll certainly add that to the charge list. I'll hook you up with a decent lawyer, I guess. I sound like
passing myself off as Wayne. That's...
Yeah. Next time I see you, you're going to have all Kiwi boot polish all over your face, isn't you?
Nothing wrong with fancy dress, Wayne. That's all.
Are you in work? Are you going around delivering milk bottles?
No, I'm literally on my way.
Right,
that's
okay.
why I've not been able to jump in because we've got a cut-off point, and I have to.
Aren't you worried someone's going to rob your phone?
Really?
He's like, yeah, fucking look at me, man.
Right,
Good luck to them.
6'3" brown gazer in Basildon in a high vis. You think they're going to come and take my phone? I don't think so, son. The fact of the matter is, I'm going to be skulking around in the night with me torch. I'll be the one that's going to get persecuted. I'm just trying to find a
Hey, can I just say, Lost Missionary in the chat, Wayne says,
Yes.
I think Wayne has actually curbed his swearing so much over the last 18 months and is the least sweary of all of us.
I have. You know what? Because let's get the.
It's because you found Jesus, isn't it? That's what it is.
The baby Jeebus.
Sfax wants to know if you've heard my complaint about people calling at night with a shaky camera. Because some of the interviews last night, especially on LBC, they were not set up very well. Let's put it that way. And they were just like every time the person being interviewed moved, that the camera shook, and it just looked so amateur. And I was like, it was driving me up the wall. Anyway, not to you, Wayne. I'm just saying.
Let me say something for you. I personally have my light here.
Yeah.
I was ready to set up like this in the van. Like lighting, audio, everything. But I thought, hang on a minute, I'm on my way to the van. But Mike's calling me out. Let me pop in and say, shut the fuck up, you prick.
Oh, thanks for that, Wayne.
I missed you,
nice.
Wayne.
Comes on for messages of love and support. You fucking prick.
No, I came on to address the abuse that I was given.
The abuse? Are you being abused? Are you being abused, Wayne?
At least I've got the right to reply. Sorry, I just need some scallies on e-bikes. Ready? Let's go.
Sorry.
Well, I'm
right?
sorry. I'd like to apologise for the fact that you feel hurt by my abuse towards you. It wasn't intended to hurt you directly. I didn't realise you were listening.
Wow. So
is that that's it? This is
that the Reform UK defence? We're sorry we were caught.
That's what I'm really sorry that Wayne got upset when I was being an arsehole about him. I didn't think he was watching GB News at the time.
So is this the GB News Nuremberg defence?
Ooh, it's all kicking off, Wayne. It's all kicking off. Wayne, it's all kicking off. Scotland versus Morocco. It just kicked off.
Oh.
It's all kicking off.
Well, that famous rivalry.
Graham Price. All right, before you go, Graham Price got a message for you. He says, Wayne, we love you even though you're a Tory.
Despite the Toriness.
They're just winding you up. Winding.
I swear to God, the keyboard warriors, and the actual podcast warriors, because some people seem to be very brave when they're miles away. Like
very brave when you're 500 miles away.
This is where Wayne reveals he's standing outside my front door.
Well, I wouldn't be standing outside. I'd be booting the fucker down.
The podcast is coming from inside the house. Brilliant. All right, thanks, Wayne. Good luck with tonight.
I've got to go and deliver
have a good weekend, mate. Have a good weekend.
And great. Love to your mum.
All right, cheers, mate.
Wayne, give me a call in the week next week. Yeah.
Yeah, I will do, bro. I will do.
We should catch up.
Yeah, it's been a minute. Right,
anyway, oh my God, Morocco scored already. Morocco scored against Scotland. already
We've
Spoiler
done- we've
alert.
done
in the first minute.
We've covered everything in this. We've gone through cultural highs of cello. We've had Wayne complaining about being shadow banned by me or something. I don't know what's going on there. And now we're getting the football results. It's
1-0
this
already.
We also did
show-
ice
No,
cream
right,
and Doctor Who.
right.
Ice
we
cream,
did ice cream,
Doctor Who,
Doctor Who,
social
and a
media,
little
Can we
bit of
wrap-
politics.
reflecting pools.
Can we round it off? Because every news report has to have it. Graham, can you tell me what the footsie's doing right now?
Who's playing
everyone cares
footsie?
a
I'm not
fuck
playing
about
footsie with you again. Not after last time, mate. I got my foot stuck.
Where's the Dow Jones right now?
The Dow Jones is
Dow-
at 50,000. It's
Dow-
at 50,000.
Donald Trump, the Dow.
It's at 50,000.
How many points underwater is it? How many points underwater?
Cheers, Wayne.
All right, anyway,
Legend.
Anyway, you fuckers, have a
Cheers, legend.
Have a great weekend. Enjoy the sun.
Yeah, mate, I've been fucking cooked today. I'll show you me 10 lines next time.
All right. Awesome. All right. Take care, mate.
Gentlemen, have a lovely
Cheers,
weekend.
man.
Love you,
You
all.
too.
Bye bye.
All right. Cheers, Wayne. Oh,
All
isn't
right.
that nice? Wayne dropping in to say hi
It's lovely.
Yeah.
with his milk bottles. His bottles of rage. There's a bunch of stuff we haven't covered. Ukraine attacking Moscow and blowing the lid off the place, which looks like a
Brilliant.
UFO
Well
or
done.
a frisbee or a wok.
Brilliant.
I've seen it all so far. We've got the Iran deal, which you haven't really talked about much, which is just pathetic.
What is
and
that to say?
hilarious.
Trump sold out. He gave everything away. He
300
lost the war.
billion. 300 billion. Affecting pool. We talked about that. JD Vance went on The View, which is like loose women in America.
Yeah.
And he looked like he's trying to sell it. He's trying to hawk his new book that he's got coming out, and he looked like an absolutely massive tit. Just a huge, like, you know, imagine like the
There's
Millennium Dome was a big tit. That's how much of a tit he
There's
looked.
a strong rumor that Trump is setting up Vance to take the blame for this deal collapsing. And that's why he rolled him out this week to go and do all the explanations of it.
That's a very interesting thing to do.
Threw him under the bus.
The problem with that is, remind me, who started this war with Iran? Was it JD Vance?
No, but if you look at Hannity and various other commentators in the States, they've all been saying that they think that it was Vance and Kushner that signed this shitty deal without telling the president. So the line is being developed already because Trump, you know, if you say anything about Trump, the one thing he used to be good at, he's less good at it nowadays, but he's, you know, reading the room of his own supporters.
But the problem with that again is like if he doesn't like the deal, why is he honoring it? Trump
It doesn't
isn't one
matter.
for honoring deals that he doesn't like. He breaks them all the time. This is sort of that point in a social deduction game where everybody in the room has worked out that you are the traitor, the werewolf, the whatever, and everybody's determined to vote you out, and you're still talking, and the moderator's like, I think you need to wrap this up. I think they've made their minds
You're
up.
out. Yeah,
They've
you're
made
out.
their minds up.
Yeah.
And it's like, but it's like, no, but if I just
will-
get this, like,
He
you're
will,
done.
as ever, get away with it. That's the thing.
I just want to mention as well, I just absolutely love that the results of the Makerfield by-election, which have been, you know, pictures of which have been sold to media all over the world. You've got it on American media, Australian media, South African media, and there's a picture of the winner, Andy Burnham, standing there clapping, you know, and to his left is a man with a
Bin-faced.
bin on his head, and on to his right, there's a guy dressed as a fox.
Yeah.
Or
Awesome.
vice versa.
This is a country I feel proud of.
I just love it. I
There's
don't
a
know if
great-
you get this anywhere else in the world.
There's a great clip of Burnham talking to Count Binface, and the pair of them obviously just having a 10-minute funny conversation between themselves, basically. And the guy from the Monster Raving Loony Party desperately trying to get himself into the conversation, and neither Binface nor Burnham were treating him seriously. And he kind of go, I think that puts you in your place, Monster Raving Loonies.
Excuse us, the real jokes are talking, if you don't mind.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, did you see Count Binface doing the Sky News interview where the guy didn't know who he was?
Yeah.
That was
Well, I think the
hilarious.
guy was pretending not to know because he didn't want to treat him seriously. And that
No, he
embarrassed him
genuinely didn't
completely.
know. He genuinely didn't know the way he came across and the
I-
way he was interacting with the other presenter in the studio. He was just like, I don't know who this
Maybe.
is. So who are you?
I think that's
Why are you
terrible
just like this?
journalism, isn't it? To not be aware of
Yeah.
the count. That's crazy.
Yeah. And not just dressed as a fox, but with a poster to protect the wildlife.
It was a great fox costume as well. It was really, that cost more than his deposit, I reckon.
Which everybody lost. Okay, listen, we're gonna have to wrap it up there because I did say we're gonna go till 10:30, and we've yacked on till 7 minutes past 11. But we were getting into that social media thing, so there's lots to be said. No one's mentioned dopamine so far. Dopamine addiction. We want to talk about the next big addiction.
It does. You can't cross off squares on your bingo card by mentioning them at the end of the stream and saying this was going to be mentioned, therefore I'm going to cross it off now. Can't do that.
Well, it's because you took up a large chunk of our programming schedule with your fucking cello.
Are you complaining about my cello? I will remind you, there's a spike on this thing.
Cello. God.
Oh, jeez. Oh God, he's got the cello out again.
Well, that's the last time I get that out on the stream, innit?
Well, I know. I don't want to banter aside. I thought that was absolutely beautiful, and I would tune in every Friday.
Very good. I think you should do that as a little interlude. Like
I'll do that every time I come on stream from now on. Is that what we're saying?
Yes,
totally. If people hit the super chats,
I think.
In fact, I think you should for it.
Yeah,
instead
you
of
should entirely
confetti,
join in the debates with the cello instead of actually saying anything. Just let the music do your talking.
Or if we hit a really distressing point and we're dealing with something that's just a bit too serious, or we just need to bring the tone back up a bit, I can just start playing gently in the background and just let it waft over. Yeah.
I reckon the juxtaposition of you playing this beautiful classical music on your cello with Wayne swearing like a docker would be brilliant.
You want to get Wayne back on, don't you?
Fucking yeah, too fucking right. Anyway, guys, thanks for coming on the show, Ed and Mike. Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks for the super chats. We didn't get a Boba Fetty tonight. Oh well, next time, eh? I won't be doing the show in the morning. Won't be doing Morning Brew because I'm on my way to London. I will be going live throughout the day though. So if you could do us a big favour, give us a like, but also subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and hit that bell notification icon because we will be going live just randomly throughout the day tomorrow from the rejoin march that begins at Temple Station at 12 o'clock in that there London. I'll be there. Phil will be there. Mike will be there. Mike Dix, Mike Galsworthy will be there. Femi will be there. So if you want to come along and join a good cause, then please join us on that march. Otherwise, I might see you in Liverpool for the friends of A. Thompson who are meeting in Liverpool tomorrow night. I will be coming down from up from London, going down to London and up from London to get to Liverpool. I should be arriving there about 7 o'clock tomorrow. So hopefully see you around then in my own, gaff. My old stomping ground of Liverpool, and we'll have a very, very good night out, I'm sure. Okay, right. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.
Bye.